ba ay isang rehistradong botante? Narito ang ilan sa mga dapat mong malaman para sa 2022 elections. Kailan ang araw ng pagboto? Ang sabayang nasyonal at lokal na eleksyon ay idarao sa May 9, 2022 at bagamat mainit ang diskusyon ukol sa mga tatakbo bilang presidente at vice-presidente, higit pa sa dalawang posisyon na ito ang ating iboboto. Ayon sa datos ng COMELEC, mayroong 18,180 positions na pupunan sa eleksyon sa May 2022. Kasama dito ang mga ihahalal para sa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao na magdaraos ng unang regular na eleksyon kung hindi ito ipagpapaliban. One President, one Vice President, 12 Senators, 253 District Representatives, 63 Party List Representatives, 81 Governors, 81 Vice Governors, 782 Provincial Board Members, 146 City Mayors, 146 City Vice Mayors, 1,650 City Councilors, 1,488 Municipal Mayors, 1,488 Municipal Vice Mayors, at 11,908 Municipal Councilors. Ngayon na ikaw ay nakapagparehistro na, ang susunod na hakbang ay bumoto sa May 9, 2022 at tiyakin na ang boto mo ay mabibilang. Markahang maigi ang bilog katabi ng iyong piniling kandidato sa balota gamit ang marker na galing sa COMELEC. Huwag sulatan ng kahit na ano ang balota. Huwag punitin, mantsahan o gusitin ito. Pumili lamang ng isang kandidato para sa mga sumusunod na posisyon. Para sa posisyong nasyonal, President, Vice President at Party List Representative. Para sa mga botante sa Metro Manila, Mayor at Vice Mayor. Para sa mga botante sa labas ng Metro Manila, Governor, Vice Governor, City or Municipal Mayor at City or Municipal Vice Mayor. Ang pagpili ng higit pa sa isang kandidato para sa mga naturang posisyon ay magiging dahilan para hindi mabilang ang iyong boto. Pumili lang ng hanggang 12 kandidato para sa pagkasenador. Ang pagpili ng higit pa sa 12 kandidato para sa pagkasenador ay magiging dahilan para hindi mabilang ang lahat ng iyong boto sa pagkasenador. Tandaan, huwag matakot bumoto at bumoto ng tama. We will be starting in 5 minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. Kumusta na po kayo? Kami po ay nananalangin kung nasan man kayo ng dako ng Pilipinas at mundo, kahit nasa ang sulok pa kayo, sana po ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan po namin, that all of us are healthy, and bagamat malamig ng panahon, then magpapasko na, Merry Christmas to everyone, magiging mainit ang ating talakayan ngayon. Di ba? Ito po ang last installment of the MIL series being organized by the University of the Philippines College of Mass Communication Foundation Incorporated in partnership with the University of the Philippines, the College of Mass Communication, Philippine Press Institute, and also being supported by Nickel Asia Corporation. Nagkaroon po na tayo ng tatlo in the past, quarterly po ito, at maganda po yung naging talakayan. At to end this year, we're ending with a bang with a very important topic, looking forward sa May 9, 2022 elections. At ngayon, to formally open our program, please welcome Vice President for Public Affairs of the UP System, Dr. Elena Pernia. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, hello, Ariel, and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for being here. My gratitude and felicitations to the CMC Foundation Incorporated and its very valuable partners. I would also like to extend congratulations to my colleagues in the College of Mass Communication, Dean Army Santiago, our Executive Director in the Foundation, Risa Silvestre, and our partners, in bringing this webinar to you, in particular, PPI Executive Director, Ariel Sebelino. Thank you always, Ariel, and thank you always to our PPI, to our very good friend, JB Bailon from Nickel Asia, who has by now become such a great partner of our foundation. I see as well some other people. So forgive me for making some sounding a bit. But I see my colleague here, Odette Portus. I see as well Sinag, but I will pay particular attention to our very esteemed speakers this afternoon, who are right here. Ron Habal, hello, Mr. Ron Habal. Professor Edna Ko, hello, Edna. And Dean Army, who wears several hats this afternoon. And most importantly, on behalf of the foundation, I wish to extend my gratitude to all of you who have taken the time to participate in this webinar forum. I begin this afternoon's webinar with a reflection on what it means to be a citizen, a responsible citizen, particularly a responsible Filipino citizen. Our very distinguished speakers will take on the important aspects of digital and digital citizenship in the election season. So I would like to use these few minutes that I have to touch on civic attitudes and behaviors that are important for Filipinos to undertake their roles as active and responsible members of society. These attributes include social trust, social altruism, equality, tolerance, humanitarianism, and civic participation, which are all so lofty and sublime concepts, but quite difficult for the typical citizen to grasp. Which is why, when these attributes are woven into a statement like Ambition Natin 2040, they make more sense. Ambition Natin 2040 is the collective, long-term vision and aspirations of Filipinos for themselves and for the country in the next 20 years. The vision is, in 2040, we will all enjoy a stable and comfortable lifestyle, secure in the knowledge that we have enough for our daily needs and unexpected expenses, that we plan and prepare for our own and our children's future. Our family lives together in a place of our own, and we have the freedom to go where we desire, protected and enabled by a clean, efficient, and fair government. Sa taong 2040, ang mga Pilipino ay may matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay. What is matatag? Filipinos are strongly rooted. Filipino families live together. There is work-life balance, so there is time to spend with the family, even and especially for family members who work. On weekends, families and friends enjoy time together in parks and recreational centers. It is a high-trust society with a strong sense of community. There are volunteer opportunities, and Filipinos spend time to serve the community, help others who are in need, and contribute to various causes. What is it to be maginhawa? Filipinos have a comfortable life. No one is poor, and no one is ever hungry. Filipino families live in comfortable homes with the desired amenities and secure tenure. Families and friends are within reach because transport is convenient and affordable, and they can take a vacation together within the country and abroad. Children receive quality education so that they realize their full potentials and become productive members of society. Decent jobs that bring sustainable income are available, including opportunities for entrepreneurship. What is being panatag? Filipinos feel secure over their entire lifetime. They expect to live long and enjoy a comfortable life upon retirement. There are resources to cover unexpected expenses, and there are savings. They feel safe in all places in the country. Filipinos trust their government because it is free of corruption and provides service to all its citizens equally. What a beautiful vision. But how can we realize that vision, which after all encompasses our collective aspirations? This is where an all of society approach is necessary. All sectors, whether public or private, need to direct their efforts towards creating opportunities for Filipinos to enjoy a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. Government, in particular, must use its tools of fiscal, monetary, and regulatory policies to steer the development towards enabling Filipinos to attain their ambition. This pertains to all dimensions of development: economic, human, physical capital, institutional, social, and cultural, with the priority sectors being housing and urban development, agriculture, manufacturing, health, wellness and education, connectivity, tourism, and financial services. Government must encourage investments in these sectors by improving market linkages, simplifying government procedures, and facilitating access to finance. These should be complemented by appropriate human capital development, science, technology, and innovation. Government must also ensure that economic growth is broad-based across sectors and regions, and it must result in more equal income distribution. Ensuring the quality of healthcare and health-related products and the safety of other products is the responsibility of government also. Government must be proactive in setting the agenda for education to ensure that we, our children, our grandchildren, are well educated, ready and willing to contribute to their dangal ready and willing to contribute their dangal and husay para sa bayan, honor and excellence for the people and the country. Education is, after all, about molding the future Filipino and creating the future Philippine society. By 2040, the Philippines is a prosperous, middle-class society where no one is poor, People live long and healthy lives and are smart and innovative. The country is a high-trust society where families live in vibrant, culturally diverse, and resilient communities. It is then our duty and responsibility as citizens to choose who will lead our government so that our vision and aspirations are met. In closing these welcome remarks, may I recite some of the duties and responsibilities of a Filipino citizen that is found in our Constitution. Number one, defend our country from enemies and invaders. Number two, pay taxes willingly and promptly. Number three, be loyal to the country. Four, take care and conserve our natural resources. Five, help our country grow and develop. Six, keep our surroundings clean. Seven, study well and become productive individuals. Number eight, obey laws. Maintain peace and order in the community. Nine, preserve the Filipino culture and identity. 10, participate actively in various government programs. 11, vote wisely and choose candidates who can serve the people and our country. 12, respect the rights of others. If indeed your wish is in line with Ambition 2040, let us heed these responsibilities. Number 11 is of particular interest today and in the following months, which I hope you and I will take seriously. Thank you very much and welcome to our webinar. Back to you, Ariel.
Maraming salamat. There you go. The indefatigable Dr. Pernia. She's also currently the president of the Philippines Communication Society. Ma'am, very inspiring indeed. Nakakataba ng puso. Sana yung 2040, yung mga points na binanggit mo doon, kahit ambisyon yun, si unti-unti sana natin makamtan kahit hindi pa 2040. Di ba?
Buon ang role ng ambisyon. Ewan ko for the rest. Pero hindi ako nahihiya para sabihin nangingiyak-ngiyak ako.
Yeah, true. That's true. Pero tama yung binanggit.
Natin na ang dapat nga ay ating ma-achieve. Hindi lang para sa atin.
Correct.
Para sa lahat. Para, hindi ko alam, ako, meron akong mga anak at mga apo. At yun ang aking ambisyon.
Yeah, very well said. Pero meron kayong caveat. Makakamtan natin yung aspiration. Only 12 points. 12 points yung binanggit nyo.
Actually, dalawa ang pinaka-importante dyan.
Of the 12.
Number one is responsibilidad ng gobyerno. Tulungan tayo ma-achieve itong ating mga ambisyon. At pangalawa, responsibilidad natin na mamili ng ating gobyerno.
Exactly. Very good point as we look forward to the May 2022 elections. Dr. Pernia, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Very inspiring indeed, Dr. Pernia. And please stay tuned. If you have time and you can join us in the discussion later on, maraming salamat po. And speaking of digital citizenship, Dr. Pernia, nako, binanggit yun na yung kaibigan natin sa Nickel Asia Corporation, which is supporting this program, yung MIL series natin this year. Digital native siya. Digital citizen. No, he is also a political commentator, a columnist of Malaya, at very active in the social or a netizen. Na pag binasa mo yung mga post, madami kang matututunan. Pero wag na natin palawigin pa yung description about our next, not guest, pero talagang kasama natin sa programa ito, the Vice President for Corporate Communication of Nickel Asia Corporation. Please welcome Jose Bayani JB Bailon. Hi, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Sir Ariel. Magandang hapon. Hindi ko nagpakita ng picture kasi normally I don't show pictures and I just say, just think of Piolo and more or less, ganun na yung itsura ko. No?
Oo, may semblance naman di ba?
Diba? Right.
The floor is yours, Sir
Thank
JB.
you. You know, listening to Dr. Pernia, three thoughts sprung to mind. No, first, never follow Dr. Pernia. So do not follow her because what you will say will sound puny compared to what she has to say. Second, maybe I can adopt Dr. Pernia's Ambition 2040 and make that my platform when I run for president. I mean, if you're looking for a platform, there you have, a comprehensive idea of what the Philippines should be like, what the future should be like, which is what we should all aspire for. And there's something interesting also about that platform. It talks about 2040, long beyond a 6-year term of a president, which is something which we drastically need in this
That's
country.
right.
Longer term visioning, ma'am. So I thank you for the platform you have made for me.
Actually, hindi yan sa'yo. Hindi yan sa akin. Yan ay para sa ating lahat. At
Yes.
yan ay produkto ng pagsasaliksik. Alam nyo, itong ating mga development plans nakaangkla diyan sa Ambition 2040 na ito.
Yes.
At ilang taon na yan na publicize. The fact that many people do not know it, may kakulangan ang ating gobyerno. To tell you the truth, this was a product of the National Economic and Development Authority, and this was something that's put forward in 2016 and was used as the anchor, as the framework for the development plan 2017 to 2022. And this is, in fact, what is expected, that whoever is the administration in the next government after our May elections will anchor its platform against that ambition. So JB, magpresidente ka na rin kasi sinabi mo platform.
Ma'am, it is a beautiful platform, and you're right. No, if any and every candidate would swear to uphold the platform, then you will feel less anxious as to who will win.
Kaya nga
I think
pero
beautiful.
para sa atin din and I'm sorry to interrupt, pero para sa atin din, tayong mga botante, ito, ambition natin ito, malawak na pagsasaliksik ang nangyari para gawin ito. Ang ating mga puso't isip ay naroon din. Kaya gamitin natin yan sa pag-decide dito kung sino nga sa kanila na nagliligaw ng ating boto, ang ating sasagutin ng matamis na oo.
Exactly. In fact, the third point I wanted to raise, ma'am, thinking of what you were saying was, we're talking today about citizenship and elections, and I think again we ask ourselves whether does the citizenry understand what the basis for choosing a candidate should be, and I think you spelled it out, in your presentation. Hopefully, they will look for someone with a vision and with the qualification to carry out the vision. Kasi, so what if you have a vision if you're not qualified, So what if you're qualified but you don't have a vision? In fact, I was telling a friend last night, Filipinos seem to be more strict when it comes to assessing the qualifications of a future son-in-law or daughter-in-law. Di ba? Parang sino ba yan? Ano ba ang background yan? But we seem to be less strict when it comes to deciding who will be the president or the 12 senators or 200 congressmen who will decide the fate of not only our current, but even generations to come. I mean, that has to change. Now, just to make this brief, I'm thrilled every time the college and PPI have this together, because this is one of the few times when my nationalism is stirred, when I get intellectually challenged, and when I get re-inspired, with a few colleagues in the office, many of them from UP, when I get inspired to keep on hammering away, no matter how tiring it may be, no matter how repetitive our work could be, no matter how much we seem like Sisyphus pushing that rock up the hill and rolling it down, we just cannot stop. So saludo ako sa college, saludo ako sa foundation ng college, saludo ako sa PPI, and I'm very glad naman and proud of my bosses that they continue to support my insistence that we must be supportive of things like this, because Nicol Asia is a corporate citizen, and corporate citizens, like individual citizens, have a role to play. So sa inyo pong lahat, from us, mabuhay po kayo.
Maraming salamat, Sir JB. Such an inspiring afternoon, everyone. And we haven't even started yet. Diba sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, nako, mainit ang magiging huntahan natin ngayong hapon na ito. And we don't want to go ahead of the discussion because here's one to introduce you or to give an overview of the program. One lady who has been in the project since the very beginning, since its inception. Please welcome Risa Silvestre. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ariel. Thank you. In an online landscape saturated with disinformation and with the upcoming 2022 elections, how can we cultivate a voting population that is media and information literate? The upcoming elections have made the role of social media much more evident in the prevalence of disinformation, with propaganda and campaign strategies popping up even before the campaign period officially starts. Educating the public to think critically about the media they navigate and the information they consume will create massive impacts in the 2022 elections. On the other hand, cultivating an active, informed, and involved voter population would require digital citizens who can think critically about media and information. Soon, we will make one of the most influential decisions in keeping our democracy through electing public officials who will run the country for the next few years. Thus, the UP College of Mass Communication Foundation organized this webinar themed Digital Citizenship and in the Election Season, which is in partnership with the Philippine Press Institute with the support of Nickel Asia Corporation. It aims to promote media and information literacy amidst all the disinformation under the 2022 elections. This afternoon, we will be joined by 3 distinguished speakers to discuss the following: online disinformation in the 2022 campaign, elections and the political parties in the digital normal, and framework for digital citizenship. Right after the presentation of speakers, we will be having an open forum, so please prepare your questions, which will be read by our moderator, Ariel Sebelino, PPI Executive Director, and co-moderator, Ms. Joyce Pañares, News Editor, Manila Standard, as these are given in the chat box in the comment section of the FB pages of PPI and UPCMCFI, as we are also on FB live stream. Then we will have the synthesis of PSSC Executive Director, Dr. Lourdes Portus, the awarding of certificates of appreciation, and the closing remarks of Professor Emeritus, Dr. Grace Javier Alfonso, Executive Director, TVUP. So with that, may I now hand this over to Ariel Sabelino. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Risa. Good afternoon to you and Merry Christmas. I hope you have a happy and blessed one. And be safe always.
Thank you.
And thanks also for reminding that being watched on Facebook. We're on Facebook live streaming. So everyone, not just who are watching us right now in the meeting room, but those who are watching us via the FB live streaming can also participate or interact or engage with our speakers through your comments and questions. Please type them in the comment section. All right. At ito na po ang wag nating patagalin ta. Before I turn this over to our moderator, Joyce Pañares, I am going to introduce to you our 3 speakers. She's currently the Dean of the UP Diliman College of Mass Communication. She teaches media information and digital literacy at the same college. Please welcome Dr. Arminda V. Santiago, who will later on present. Our second speaker is Director of UP Diliman Extension Program in Pampanga and Director of CFAL Philippines. Is also a recognized and respected political analyst. She is a former Dean of the UP Diliman National College for Public Administration and Governance. Good afternoon to you, Professor Edna Ko. How are you, ma'am?
I'm okay, Ariel. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good to see you again. All right. And last but not least is the CEO of Page One Group, a CMC alumnus as well on MA Communication, a highly respected international award-winning global communications executive with almost 3 decades of solid experience in communication. Page One is one of the country's leading, if not the leading and award-winning content development and marketing agency. Mr. Ron Habal, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon, Ariel. Good afternoon
Good
to everybody.
afternoon. All right, ito na yung round natin na magpe-present muna si Dean Army and then opening statements from Dr. Edna and Ron. I'll introduce to you Joyce. I'll give to you Joyce Pañares. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hi, good afternoon, Ariel, and good afternoon to all of our listeners.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Take it away.
Okay, so for our first speaker, we have Professor Arminda Santiago, and she will be discussing a framework for digital citizenship. Ano po ba yung digital citizenship, ma'am? Very curious kami to know about this and why it evokes both responsibility and rights of digital citizens. Professor Santiago, please.
Hello, good afternoon. Magandang araw sa lahat.
Good afternoon, Dean.
Papatayin ko muna yung video ko dahil mukhang unstable, no, ang aking signal. Tapos mag-share screen po ako. I cannot start share screen. Okay. So, pwede na ba mag-share screen? Tech support?
Yes, ma'am.
Eto na po.
It will be allowed po.
Okay, thank you. At from beginning. Okay, so may nakikita na po ba kayo?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Naka-share screen na po.
Alam ko po na talagang magtataka po tayo, no, na mayroong konseptong tinatawag na digital citizenship. Kasabayan po ito ng pag-develop natin na media literacy, media and information literacy, digital literacy, at ngayon ay digital citizenship. No? Dahil tayo po ay nasa isang digital world, hindi na po natin yan pwedeng i-deny. No? Dahil lalo na with the COVID, no, na talagang popular na ang paggamit ng digital technology. Okay. Ngayon, eto na naman, okay, it's the election season and it comes after every 6 years for the national elections. So really, again, we are going into a roller coaster ride where all sorts of personalities are being bandied as the right choice for changes and reforms. Okay? And there's also, as you have witnessed, the circuitous withdrawals and replacements, no, or substitutions of candidates. And essentially, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which I say that it's a game changer, because the impact of this pandemic is global, and essentially it has resulted in a degree of economic paralysis. Until now, we still experience this, and the immobilization of community life, no, due to the imposition of stay-at-home restrictions for health safety. So it is fertile ground for digital technology to take center stage. And here we witness and experience how digital technology is creating a revolution in a way we see the world, the way we move around this world, and the way we interrelate with fellow human beings. No, sabi nga di ba na every time we always say, ay hindi ako techie kasi hindi ko alam paano gamitin itong teknolohiyang ito. Pero natututunan din naman natin, nauuwi doon natin. Okay? And while digital technology, okay, is a boon and gives us many advantages, no? Essentially, it is also a bane. And as technology becomes increasingly ubiquitous in our lives, it is becoming more important for us to know how to conduct positive, safe, legal, and ethical behaviors online. The challenge of fostering effective digital citizenship is particularly critical with the COVID-19 pandemic because it pushes us to interact virtually. And we also have to contend with now, no, interacting with our election candidates through a virtual, no, platform. Okay, so this election season, it is more challenging for all of us. Okay, and the rise of the internet means that much of our lives now take place online. And it brings to us another community, the digital community. And here, Okay, essentially, I would like to echo the call. Actually, this is a call even in, it's a global call actually. And it's a call for us to develop ourselves, to become digital citizens, and to practice digital citizenship in our digital community and our digital world. What is a digital citizen? No, tanong nga ni Joyce. So, a digital citizen is a person using information technology, no, in order to engage in society, culture, the arts, business, economic, political, and governance activities. No, so also, actually digital citizens naman tayo lahat no, kasi ginagamit natin ang internet regularly and effectively. Sana, no? Kasi kadalasan meron din tayong paggamit ng internet na minsan ay hindi rin nagiging effective. At ang isang digital citizen, ito na, no? Kasi hindi lahat nakaka-exhibit nito or nakaka-perform ng tinatawag na responsible behavior when using technology. Ano ba itong responsible behavior, no? So it is someone who uses the internet with thinking, okay, with critical thinking, with a discerning, okay, a way of looking at digital content, kung ito ba ay totoo, ito ba ay fake, okay, ito ba ay manipulated, or tayo ba ay safe pagka we go digital, and other and I'm sure you've witnessed and heard horror stories about people who get affected with their use of digital technology. So digital citizenship is the ability to safely and responsibly access digital technologies, as well as being an active and respectful member of society, both online and offline. Sabi nga, being a good digital citizen, you are aware na meron itong legal aspect. So, dapat nire-recognize mo yung copyright, no? At saka yung intellectual property rights. At tinitignan mo rin kung ang source ba na pinuntahan mo ay open educational resources ba yan? Or kailangan maghingi ng permission para magamit mo ang isang material na nanggaling sa internet. Tapos, dapat alam natin, appropriate ba ito, no? Yung mga words and images na either nakukuha natin or ginagawa natin. Thus, we are responsible. We have to be responsible. So we have to prevent damage and misuse of this technology. And of course, we have to be kind, because after all, humans are the ones who generate the text and images and meanings in online. So actually, you've heard a lot of stories, no, about scams, about trolling, about bullying, cyberbullying, about libel. So we have to counter the increasing incidence of these. Some people call them crimes, online crimes. Some people call them online misdemeanors, no? And it's important to develop in the Filipino digital citizenship kasi maraming techie savvy, okay, digital savvy, pero nagiging victim din sila, no, ng mga pangyayaring ito. Kaya nga sabi nga, it is not enough to be internet savvy. We need to help adults and most especially the youth to learn, communicate, and collaborate safely and responsibly online para ma-prevent din natin yung pagbenta ng ating mga kabataan, no, sa through online sex platforms. So we have to be very responsible. At sabi nga ay dapat kung tayo ay magpupursigi na maging best digital citizen in the community, we should also have etiquette, no? So sabi nga, email etiquette, reporting, preventing cyberbullying, learning how to protect private information. In this time of national elections, we need to develop digital citizenship among our fellow citizens and those involved in the elections, the campaign managers, the candidates themselves, and their many supporters. We are very familiar with trolling, with misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation that is proliferating sa ating internet-based media, such as social media. No? Kaya nga, like, nilagay ko nga dito yung isang image galing sa inquirer.net kasi 'di ba isa sa mga naging biktima ng fake news or manipulated yung images niya ay yung isa nating kandidato for president, si VP Leni Robredo. At kailangan conscious tayo no na sa dami nitong mga social media sa internet kasi sa totoo lang familiar lang tayo kasi sa Facebook, no? Pero ang ibig sabihin kasi ng social media, no, kasama dito yung mga website for social networking at saka yung mga blogging sites kasi ang ibig sabihin ng social media, ito ay isang plataforma na makaka-create kayo ng online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content like videos and photos. Kaya lang kasi we are, sa Philippines, very popular ang Facebook. Pero like sa United States, mas popular sa kanila yung Twitter, no? Kaya lahat ng mga reactions nila from that platform, yung Twitter. However, ito no, kaya kailangan i-develop natin ang sarili natin na maging digital citizen. Dahil hindi ito madalas na papag-usapan. Okay? Meron kasing tinatawag na digital footprint. When we access the internet, we leave a digital footprint. Minsan ang tawag nila digital shadow, minsan ang tawag nila electronic footprint. And it refers to an individual's unique set of traceable digital activities, actions, lahat ng mga ginawa mo through the internet and other digital devices, nare-record yun at hindi raw yun natatanggal. No? So, sabi nga, everything on the internet about you, your social media profile, your images, any information or content posted by you on blogs and sites, ito ang ating digital footprint. Pagka sumasagot tayo ng mga Google survey, no? Nag-iiwan tayo ng footprint na yan, yung lahat ng ating impormasyon na iiwan natin sa internet. So, talagang ganon, no? We are quite unaware that we are leaving our digital footprints. And this is a bit dangerous, no? Kasi it can be accessed by anyone later. Kaya nga, kung sa paggamit ninyo ng internet, meron kayong, di ba, meron doon na itong site na to, security encrypted, etc. So parang binibigyan kayo ng impormasyon na pag naglagay ka na information doon ay magiging safe. Pero kasi in a digital, it's a technology, so whoever is very good, no, at this technology, they can easily also hack it. No, kaya nga sinasabi we are all traceable. No, kaya nga we have to develop ourselves to be smart digital citizens, no? So sa paggamit natin ng teknolohiyang ito kasi nga sites can track your activity. Yung mga cookies sa mga device, sa mga apps natin, ito yung nagtutumutulong para matrace tayo ng madali at makukuha yung data natin na hindi natin alam. Okay, so ano ba yung mga digital data na pwede nilang makuha? Ano ba itong ating mga footprint? Posible na ang footprint natin ay shopping data. No? So, punta ka sa Lazada, punta ka sa Shopee, kung ano mga binili mo. Tapos nun, actually later, kung palagi ka nagpupunta sa mga shopping sites na yun, makaka-build ng characterization yung shopping site na yun kung ano ang madalas mong bilhin. At yun ang i-offer nila, yun ang ipapadala nila sa email mo, no? Kasi nalaman na nila na ang iyong favorite products ay ito at yung spending, yung iyong mode of spending, yung spending amounts, yung mga ganoon ay nakukuha nila at nagagamit nila. Posible rin financial data kasi nga, 'di ba, meron tinatawag na online banking, no? So doon marami rin makukuhang data. Health and fitness data, kung nag-enroll ka sa isang health and fitness na na gym, no? So kung lahat ay kukunin, no, through the internet, so malalagay mo lahat ng name mo, address mo, etc. Meron ding reading and news data, no? So ano yung madalas mong puntahan na sites para makabasa ng mga news or other articles? Meron ding social data. So dito ay ito yung sa Facebook, no? Na kaya nga halimbawa may sinabi sa akin noon nung hindi pa ako digitally conscious, maybe 7 years ago, sabi sa akin, alam mo, kada like mo or heart ng isang post tungkol sa pusa o kaya aso, no? Kaya yun ang pupunta sa news feed mo sa Facebook. Kasi yun yung social data na nakuha nila at pagka nilagay yun sa news feed mo ay matutuwa ka kasi yun pala yung hilig mo. Pero ang hindi mo alam or hindi mo masyadong aware na, teka, no, bakit ang dami-dami yung post tungkol sa pusa, tungkol sa aso kasi pet lover ako. So yun nga, in-explain sa akin ng isa kong techie na estudyante na, ma'am, the more you like or heart, the more kayo makakatanggap ng mga ganyan, ng mga post sa newsfeed mo. So, itong framework na gusto kong i-share sa inyo, ito naman ay framework na ina-adapt worldwide, no? Lalo na para sa mga estudyante, lalo na sa mga kabataan, no? Ito ay itong framework na to, nagpo-provide ng structure para lang ano ba ang ating responsibility, ano ba yung issues na dapat natin tignan, no, sa paggamit natin ng digital technology. Okay? Kaya nga sabi nga, hopefully this framework or model, perhaps you want to call it, okay, can make the digital environment safe and secure. Kasi madedevelop yung critical thinking mo sa pag-unawa kung ano tong mga elemento para maging digital citizen ka. Okay. So, in fact, ang tawag mo dito, sorry. In fact, bakit kailangan nating malaman ito? Kung napansin nyo, di ba, election season na ngayon. Tapos sa Facebook, no, na kung ikaw ay may kandidato, no, na may identifying mark, halimbawa, ang sample kasi na nakikita ko sa pagtingin ko sa Facebook, halimbawa kung supporter ka ni VP Leni Robredo, nagpapalit ka ng ng kulay ng ng iyong profile, puro pink kasi pink na yung identifying color niya. So kahit na hindi mo sinasabi sa iba, pero nilalagay mo naman sa Facebook, no, doon nalalaman yung political leanings mo. At nagiging nagagawa mo yung sarili mo to be a parang a fair, no, or maging victim ng mga troll, ng mga cyberbullying, ng mga identity thieves, no? Kaya mahalaga na malaman natin kung paano natin masisafeguard sarili natin by looking at and following these elements of the framework. So, merong 9 na elements ang digital citizenship. So, tinitingnan ng digital access, digital commerce, digital communication and collaboration. So, puro digital, no? Literacy, etiquette, law, rights and responsibilities, health and wellness, and digital security. So, essentially, sinasabi nga na for digital access, so, ang sinasabi na dapat may equal distribution ng teknolohiya and online resources. So, kailangan yung digital divide ay dapat mawala. So, ibig sabihin, kung gusto natin ma-develop ang ating mga kababayan na maging digital citizens, bigyan natin sila ng equal and fair digital access. Then, digital commerce. Okay? So, alam niyo naman to dahil bumibili kayo ng mga produkto sa internet. Kung hindi man sa Lazada, bumibili kayo sa Facebook, no? So the selling and buying of things online. So kailangan din meron ding safety aspects pagka bumili ka online. Kaya lang 'di ba ang dami nabibiktima sa atin eh. Bibili online tapos yung madi-deliver sa kanila, it's either sira-sira or hindi yun yung product na in-order nila or pwedeng na hindi nakarating sa kanila. No? Kaya nga kailangan din sinisiguro natin na yung mga commercial sites ay secure at reliable. Then digital communication and collaboration. So ibig sabihin no na hindi dapat natin malimutan na itong virtual space ay space din ito ng lahat. Kaya kailangan alam mo kung ano ang gusto mong sabihin at para ma-prevent mo yung miscommunication or misinformation. Then, of course, digital literacy, kailangan marunong ka, critical kang tumingin ng mga digital sources and resources. No? Then, of course, etiquette, diba? So, ang etiquette, di titignan mo ngayon ano yung electronic standards of conduct or procedures. So, sa internet, kasi, di ba, sabi nga, huwag ka naman magmumura, di ba, sa internet, no? Or sa email, kung mag-i-email ka, huwag ka naman, brusko. Then, digital law, of course, you have to know all the laws pertaining, no, to digital technology para hindi tayo naloloko. Meron akong kakilala na naloko siya ng yung loan apps, loan applications. Tapos noon supposed to be itong taong ito ang description sa kanya, techie daw siya. Pero hindi siya pala naging techie no in-access niya yung loan app na yon. Yung loan app, para maka-loan ka, ang hihingi nila sa iyo yung contacts mo. So pag hindi mo yun binigay, hindi ka makaka-loan. No? So ano yung sa digital law? So kinailangan namin siya i-report mo yan either sa NTC or sa NBI kasi merong sila doon, cyber crime department, no? So kaya kailangan alam mo kung ano yung mga digital law mo at dapat alam mo rin kung ano yung digital rights, no, and responsibilities. So and then of course yung rights kasi kasama rin diyan yung alam mo yung human right mo. Then digital health and welfare, no, na titignan mo, i-ensure mo, no, like to determine, sabi nga kailangan alam mo ang physical and psychological well-being in a digital world. Ang example dito ay i-determine mo how much screen time is physiologically and psychologically healthy. No, kaya nga 'di ba ang sinasabi nga na kaya kailangan i-guard din natin yung ating mga kabataan kasi 'di ba immerse sila parang whole day nasa internet sila. Kailangan mino-moderate mo. And then ito na ang pinaka-importante, yung digital security, no? So kailangan alam mo kung ano yung mga pwede mong ilagay para hindi mahahack yung iyong let's say email, no? At saka careful ka rin doon sa mga viruses, doon sa mga tinatawag na worms, no, yung mga malware. So kailangan lagyan mo ng protection yung iyong digital device, no? Kasama 'yon. Then of course, kailangan din na sinisiguro mo ano ba ang pwede mong security measure para hindi ka maa-attack ng mga, let's say, scammers or harassers. Okay? So, as our digital world becomes increasingly connected, at ito yung itsura ng model na ginagamit worldwide, No? At the heart of this model is digital citizenship. At itong mga 9 elements na to, sa tingin ng mga educators worldwide ay ito yung kailangan na ma-develop, no, sa isang individual para siya ay maging digital citizen. So these 9 elements are guiding lights for all of us so that we become aware about how to live in the digital world and the digital environment. So we need to build our being a digital citizen. We have to build digital citizenship kasi we belong to a digital community. And especially this election season, we are all vulnerable. So we have to protect ourselves and each other for all the threats that are in cyberspace. And you can imagine how much threats there are. And we're only thinking about the internet. We are not even talking about the dark web. No, the dark web is where all the high crimes are committed. No, nandito pa lang tayo sa itaas, no, yung internet. The dark web is another matter, and it's more difficult to explore it, no. Pero just the same, let us make ourselves, no, good digital citizens so that we can participate in this digital world and practice digital citizenship. So thank you very much for your attention, and my presentation is finished.
Thank you, Professor Santiago. Ma'am, alam niyo, ang dami po ninyong ni-raise na very crucial points, ano? At balikan natin yan later during the Q&A. But offhand, ang mga questions in my head kaagad po, mas mahirap bang ituro ang digital citizenship sa tulad ko na digital adapter? Pag digital natives po ba, yung mga mas bata sa atin, do they understand this naturally, immediately? Yung siguro po yung mga ganong bagay, ano? Saka, tama kayo, very crucial itong elections because according to COMELEC, we have a record high of young voters na nagparehistro, and these are all digital natives. And we acknowledge sa ating MIL sessions that misinformation and disinformation ay tumataas po talaga during elections and during a crisis like a pandemic. So it's a double whammy for us next year. So balikan natin po yan, ma'am, with the questions
balikan natin.
and during the roundtable later po.
Okay po,
Thank you,
salamat.
Now we move to Mr. Ron Habal, a good friend, the CEO of Page One Group, to discuss online disinformation. Ayan, kakabanggit lang, in the 2022 election campaign. Hello, Ron. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Joyce. Hi, good afternoon, Dean, Ariel, Siltine, Nemi. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Thank you. So, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
All right, sige. I don't have a presentation, but I'm actually reading into one. So, but let me premise my opening statement by saying that what we are experiencing is actually a different landscape for political communication. No? So let me give you first the ideal sense of political communications. At its most basic, political communication is the dialogue between political organizations, political actors, the media, and then of course the voters. No? And the ultimate goal, of course, is to influence people, to be able to influence people to vote for a particular candidate. Ideally, what attracts voters are not just individual political measures, but a global vision that is anchored on consistency, credibility, coherence. Ito yung mga ideal way by which we view political communications. No? And then in the ideal political communications world or industry, we provide a lot of importance to words. We provide a lot of value to authenticity and empathy. Pero makikita mo these days, nasaan ba yun? Di ba? Do we still value authenticity and empathy? Do we still value words? Or do we are so lazy to be able to actually verify information? No? So unfortunately, we are living in a society where news apparently is no longer perceived to be true all the time. And instead of instead, the importance is being given to how fast the news is being delivered or information is being delivered. So it's not anymore the veracity of the information, but how fast it is, because we are living in an area wherein parang paunahan, no? Pag mauna ka makapag-post, because of course of the validation that you get, that is the kind of importance that is being given these days. No thanks to the social media platform. So, and we're seeing also trust in what we call legacy press waning, no? Especially now that we're in the election, it's as a source of information, medyo bumababa siya. It doesn't help also that the press is a victim of problems in political economy, because businesses are really down. Correct. And that is why what we're seeing is that politicians and political communications have really gone down further the gutter. No? Voters do not seem to no longer important in the framing of issues, policies, programs, and the like. Ang importante ngayon is yung heated exchange, and political communicators or operators actually thrive on that one. Heated exchange is the norm, because the end goal really is just to be able to take the lead in hyperactive social media platforms. That's the goal, not anymore to inform, basic communications platform, inform, educate, and communicate. That's no longer the goal. Is just to be able to take the lead in hyperactive social media platforms. That's why they do a lot. They design and employ several strategies that to be able to kind of like say, we're leading, no? And then the ultimate goal of political communicators these days are no longer just to create a noise, but they've already cultivated a culture wherein people actually scream at you. They'll scream at you with alternate facts, alternate reality, and all this information that are, misinformation, disinformation, and of course the worst is malinformation. We see a lot of candidates at the receiving end of all of these things, and as we observe, in the industry, this misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation are systematic and strategically being done. They're planned, they're deliberate, and they're funded. We see them. I mean, this is very expensive to be able to do that one. So they are now an accepted, quote unquote, part of a political strategy or political communications campaign. In fact, a lot of political operators, a lot of communications agencies, advertising are already offering such service, because the candidates themselves and the political machinery behind them are actually demanding for this service. We have heard so many people saying, do you have a service called, do you have a farm? Do you have a black farm? Do you have a white farm? These are some of the things that are now being asked for. And the ask is no longer just within this country. We've seen, for instance, that there are farms that are being cultivated in Eastern Europe and they're being imported here just to be able to form what they call the arsenal of mis and dis and malinformation. Talagang it's a strategy, it is being well funded. You see, very expensive. There's a monthly retainer that is being done on this one. There is also performance ratings. So these are all being done. And the worst is that all of these are also being complemented by the creation of what we would call bots, or robots in the internet, wherein citizenry or the voters are being exposed only to those that will elicit information, whether it's hate or love. These are bots that are being bought by political campaigns, just to be able to show you information that you may or may not think to be true or not. So those are some of the things. Of course, these bots are the ones that are spreading fake news. But of course, there are also people. A lot of people are being hired just to be able to spread fake news. They're hired, they're funded to be able to retransmit information, because there's a lot of people that is very, very susceptible to fake news, correct? And then we've seen also platforms that engage in auto likes. These are ways by which you can make candidates appear that they're really popular. So this is kind of this information as well. We see a lot of auto likes in Facebook and in Facebook and Twitter. We also see a lot of fake engagement, and you can buy them. There's a lot of services now that are being offered here and abroad that I can actually give you for like 100 pesos or 150 pesos. You can already get 100 likes or 100 engagements. So these are all being used just to be able to push online disinformation in this election. Unfortunately, there are also other financial platforms that are being used to be able to do that, and we've seen evidence of GCash and payments and you name it, just to be able to pay for all of these people who would be interested in pushing fake news. We've also seen a lot of people advertising their services, buying multiple accounts that have millions or hundreds of thousands of followers, just to be able to change their title. We've seen them, and we can actually monitor those that have changed their name from, for instance, Hugot Line pages that are now supporting a particular candidate. We've also seen a page that has been used for political campaigns in 2019 for a particular candidate, and because they've already amassed 1 million or 2 million already followers, that are now being bought by political campaigns just to be able to make it appear that they already have a page like that. And we've seen websites that are selling one FB page likes, video views, FB shares, any reaction or engagements that are very, very cheap. So all of these is almost like an ecosystem of this information. So when we see this information, we just look at information that's being shared, but actually the strategy or the platforms are also very important. So again, it's not the true information or the truth that's being shared, but this is information, malinformation, and misinformation that is being screamed at you. It used to be that the public office is a public trust and that political communication strengthens a proposition. Pero these days, unfortunately, this is an exception more than the rule. And if you're familiar with the study that was conducted by a group of Filipino scholars before, saying that trolling and whatnot are a covert operations, in this particular election, trolling is a demanded political communication strategy. They supply them with information, they supply them with truncated statistics, and that they're being deployed by communication by public political communicators, political operators. And at the heart of all of these things, there's also a different strategy by which this information is being done. And this is what political communicators term proxy war. No? So in this particular election, proxy war is at work. Proxy war is a conflict between parties which act on the instigation or on behalf of other parties. So we see candidates actually quarreling without them knowing that their supporters are being egged on by another candidate, unbeknownst to them. So, and the entire purpose is just to be able to divide the people and make them fight each other from within. Because if they can get people to fight each other from within, they don't have to do anything. They're already winning. So that's why you need to be able to see that there's a whole gamut and an expansive world in terms of disinformation. And unfortunately, more than media literacy, more than promoting critical thinking among voters and more of information consumer, I think there should be a concerted effort to lobby the tech platform, because at the end of the day, the tech platforms are the ones to be blamed for a lot of these things. For instance, I would say Facebook fact-checking program mostly focuses on publicly available posts. In one session, Facebook said they exempted politicians and candidates from being fact-checked because the platform is maintaining that it should be the people, not the tech companies, should censor politicians. See, no matter how good you are in educating, if this Facebook will continue to show posts to you that are insightful or laced with hate or just negative news, then nothing's going to happen. TikTok, for instance, which is the 6th most used public media platform in PH, has increasingly become an avenue for disinformation. Rightly so, and fortunately, they have partnered with Agence France-Presse in fact-checking the Philippines, but there's very little effort. No, konting-konti lang yung nagangyari. And then, they have not yet removed some of the videos that continue to promote disinformation. So the videos are still being shared and sent to other TikTok users without any prompts. So walang prompt kung whether this has been fact-checked, that is correct, incorrect. No? So makikita mo ang mga kandidato ngayon nandun sa TikTok, and di ba? Ang dami-dami. And of course, Siyempre, one of the widely used platform is YouTube. No, very inconsistent ang policy ng YouTube on misinformation. No, so there are policies against election on COVID-19 related information, pero they will never. And then they say it's just less than 1% of its platform content is harmful, and you just have to consider the amount of videos of that 1% that the 1% represents. So they still have not purged, so to speak, their videos. So they will continue being shared. I mean, we've seen, for instance, a lot of YouTube channels that are supposedly entertainment in nature, and yet all of their videos are political, and all of this information are untrue, and yet YouTube continues to in a way host them. So again, all of this disinformation, malinformation, and misinformation we need to be able to tackle as well the platform, because if we do not, then this will continue. No? That's why we are seeing, and I have been, as a researcher, we've been seeing, I did a little bit of a content analysis of social media posts, and we're seeing that when confronted with truth, when people confront those who are peddling fake news or misinformation, when they're contented with truth, they just simply say, basta. Yun lang. That's why we're seeing what we call an emergence of basta voters. So they will not believe what you're saying despite of the fact that it's true. They're just saying, well, I've already made up my mind. Basta, I like. And I'll end up with just some of the quotes, no? That we found out in this particular study. Ang sabi ng mga sa content analysis, it says, some of the conversation is, basta siya yung iboboto ko. I will vote for him. Wala akong pake sa sinasabi ng mga anti that group. Dami nilang ginawa. Andyan ang CCP, so nandun lahat, no? Si Recibo, Coconut Palace, San Juanico Bridge. Si ganung kandidato, ano ba ang kanyang naambag? So, even if you will confront them with truth, even if you tell them that this is what's happening, they will simply say, I'm sorry, I've already made my mind. I will never argue to you. They will keep on shouting at you, and they would simply say, basta. And this is what we call basta voters. So let me end up by saying information is only as reliable as the people who are receiving it. So if people do not change or improve their ability to seek out and identify reliable information sources, the information environment will not improve. And when this happens, we will only be killed by a virus that attacks truth and erodes democracy. So I will end my statement on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Ron, ito, pag-isipan lang natin before we go to the Q&A later, no? Ako, mas parang for me, insidious ng konti yung cycle ng satirical Facebook pages. Kasi at some level, di ba yung mga nagpapanggap na Philstar, pero actually iba yung spelling, or kunwari Inquirer, pero iba yung spelling. Tapos it starts out as pa-cute eh. It's funny until it's no longer funny. Alam mo yun?
Yep.
Tapos paano kapag nasana yung tao na ay okay lang paling satire, and they don't get even to distinguish ano ang parody, ano ang satirical post, etc. So yun, balikan natin yan. Thank you so much, Ron, for your presentation. And now we go to, last but not the least, Professor Edna Ko from the UP Extension Program in Pampanga and Director of CIFAL. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon po.
Thank you very much, Joyce, for the welcome, the greetings. Actually, I have been listening to both. Mayaman na mayaman yung sharing ng dalawang nauna sa akin. Maganda ngang madiskusyon ito, no? At mapag-usapan pa ng malalim. I was given the topic to talk about elections, political parties in the digital normal. And let me first go into the first part, which is basically ano ang meron tayo sa May 9, 2022. It is just a brief information, and then I will come to the main thing on elections, parties, meron pa ba niyan, and the digital normal in the second, and I think that's the major, more important part of my sharing. So just FYI, parang mga ilang information lang that we need to know, no? Election facts and basic information. So what do we have for May 9, 2022? As I think I heard it from Ariel earlier, there are 63 million registered voters. Incidentally, this is not those who are fully qualified, but only 63 million registered as of September 2021.
Correct.
And of this, our people will have to fill in seats. Hindi naman lahat, but depende where you are. But the total number of elective seats is 18,180 in 2022 because it's bigger now because we have a national as well as the local election. And particularly, BARM, let me qualify this. I have been following sitting in congressional hearings the past months or so in Congress. And after a long, very heated discussion in the House, we have come to a conclusion which was affirmed by the Philippine president that there is not going to be a BARM election at the BTA level. This is the Bangsamoro Transition Authority as members of the BTA. Pero tuloy po ang local elections ng mayors sa BARM. ang reason po dito kung bakit ipopostpone is because the Bangsamoro Transition Authority had failed to pass an election code which is applicable to BARM. As we know, autonomous region na siya, so kailangan may sarili siyang ruling code para sa election. Unfortunately, this was not done within the transitory period, and therefore it is difficult to refer to go to an election without guidelines at saka yung election code. Wala silang equivalent ng COMELEC to begin with. So, pinayagan na ma-postpone ito, but the local elections go on. What else? Sorry. We have before us 270 party list groups. OMG, ang laki. 270 po ang nag-file na party list groups, but on December 15, makikita natin from COMELEC kung ilan talaga ang qualified as party list groups. As I heard from 2 days ago, merong na-disqualify na sa party list na 110 or 109 party list. So this will be cut down. Presidential candidates 97, sino sila? Bakit hindi natin kilala, di ba? And only 6 seems to have the name and the face and seem to be the focus of media in the at least currently. But finally on December 15 makikita natin kung sino ang official presidential candidates. Same thing, vice presidential 28, senatorial candidates 174, and we are choosing only 12 out of this big number. Anyway, finalists, December 15, bantayan po natin yon. And from there, dun tayo mamimili ng ating candidates. Next, please. Okay, having said that, I'll segue into social media communications, and this is where there will be a lot of, I will shift from one point to the other on social media and communications, including digital citizenship, digital campaigning, and digital communication under an election. Let me say, however, that unlike VP Neni, who started with the grand vision of Ambition 2040, ako po, ang ginagamit ko pong framework dito ay yun lamang hanggang 2030, which is the United Nations Vision, Agenda 2030, na kung saan ang United Nations ay nakatutok sa 5 P. Ano ang P na ito na tinataguyod ng 193 member countries of the UN? Ito po yung tinatawag na Sustainable Development Goals pillars na 17 goals pero yun pong 17 ay na-cut up into 5 Ps. The 5 Ps of the UN, which I am using and adopting in my analysis here, is one, people, the poor, those who are not included, those who feel hunger, the women and children, no? The migrants, lahat po ito, the workers who suddenly were thrown out of jobs and employment in the last 2 years of the pandemic. Ito po yung people. And the other one is prosperity, access to food, access to employment. The third P is peace. What is under peace and why am I using peace in this election political discussion? Because the peace framework or pillar includes promotion of peace and the promotion of strong and just institutions, where much of our election concerns are about strong institutions. Ano pa yung isang P? People, peace, prosperity, planet, ang laking emphasis sa environment and planet. And the last P is about, it's all of us working together in collaboration, kaya partnership is the last P. Now, having said that, I picked people and peace in my analysis and tie this up with the democracy framework. As a scholar, I did publish and did research on democracy in the Philippines. Just the other night, I joined an ASEAN summit talking about democracy because there's a coming democracy summit within the region. And I tie this up, I use this as my framework. And what I'm coming up to in my general observation as a political observer and the way we run our media, the way media is handling our campaign, dealing with politicians, candidates, ang tingin ko po, ang ating media at ganun din ang ating karamihan sa ating kahit na ang ating social network, no, have been candidate-centered rather than voter-centered. Ang ibig kong sabihin, nakafocus sa mga kandidato. Pag tinignan natin ang mga television programs, free media, online, no, digital media, sinong fini-feature? Yung mga kandidato yung gulo, yung kanilang plano, meron pang isa na sinong sen nyo? Pinapakanta nila, pinagtatawanan nila, tinatanong ng kung ano-ano, serious and non-serious. And I'm saying media itself, I am sorry, but media has been very, very crucial in an election, and media is very crucial in a campaign, and yet the focus so far is on the candidate. And rather than, nasan ang people? Asan ang botante? Asan si Maria? Asan yung poor? Asan yung kababaihan? Asan yung youth? Youth are also very much part of the voters, no? I think more than 1/3 of the registered 63 million belong to young and middle-aged group. And therefore, this is very crucial. In other words, that's why I anchor my discussion on people. Nasan yung women? Nasan ang elderly, nasan ang ating kabataan, nasan ang population na pupunta sa voting place. Are these ever the focus of our media work? Is this the focus of our candidates? Or are we yet centered around popularity, candidacy, batuhan po kung sinong mas magaling? And I'm saying it is not really an either-or thing, but at the end of the day, and I have said this in a podcast which I shared with Ariel months ago, election is a moment of voter. Election is the time when we have to communicate to the voters rather than communicate about the candidates. their shortcomings, their achievements, and so on. Although these two will have to merge at some point and say, anong klaseng kandidato ka? Ba't ako boboto sa'yo? And at the end of the day, my bottom line is because we have to tackle the candidates because we want the voters to be informed, to be convinced, no? And I was very interested in what Ron earlier said. Kahit anong sabihin, ang botante sasabihin na lang, basta. And this is quite interesting. The challenge, therefore, of communications, of our media work, whether it is free media or online, social media, digital, is to convince and to inform and to educate the voters. And therefore, I am saying here that the challenge is the voters to become deliberative citizens, to become discursive citizens, to be analytical citizens, and this is the citizenship part, so that on May 9, they will become the ultimate decision makers. Social media, nasaan po ito? Anong mensahe? Anong pamamaraan? I don't think we are just like the US or just like advanced economies and countries. Many voters still do not have access to online media. I am a council member of the National Movement for Free Election. We observed practically on the ground and online the plebiscite that happened last, when was it? Was it in September? Nagkaroon po ng plebisito sa Palawan.
Palawan, ma'am. Yes.
Oo, Palawan. We observe this. We have volunteers in the field. NAMFREL has more than 500 volunteers on foot all over Palawan. And you know what we found out? No? Finid po namin yung aming election observation report sa Commission on Election because NAMFREL is an accredited observer of the election. And same with 2022. Ang nakita po namin, the biggest island na ka-isolate from the mainland of Palawan has the biggest number of voters. And yet napaka-isolated, napakahirap, no? Napakahirap puntahan. Mangampanya ka, magpaliwanag ka, ano pa? Digital connection is a huge problem. Oh my God, we're very urban when we speak that online, digital is the medium. But let me say that in a country like the Philippines, where we have a huge infrastructural technological problem, hindi po siguro very summative to conclude that online social media is the means to reach everyone. Babalik po ako sa people. Where are the poor who have access to internet? Where are the working women? No? I also help and work with 105,000 membership of the Ahon sa Hirap. These are all poor mothers. Wala pong access sa internet ang 105,000 mothers na ito. Where are they? Luzon, Visayas. Wala pong members yung ASHI, Ahon sa Hirap sa Mindanao, Luzon, Visayas. You know what we did to educate and inform about elections? Ako personally, I paid for 6,000 copies of comics at pinadala po ito doon sa mga nanay. Wala po silang access sa internet. So I am saying, I think we should come down to the data. Let's be data-based. How many places in the country are reached by internet, and therefore let's utilize it to become informative on the elections, the candidates, and how electors, how voters could make a choice, an electoral choice. People po ang sentro natin. At yung people po, tingnan natin kung sino yung may access. Young people, hindi po lahat yan may online access. Depende po kung nasan yung young people. I have finished yesterday, nag-conclude po kami ng graduation, training 140 LGUs. Pinag-graduate po namin sila, kasama ko ang Galing Pook Foundation. Hirap na hirap po kami sa digital inputs, lessons, no? Sa online. Even the mayor herself in an island, nasa may Dinagat Island siya. Lalabas siya, punta siya sa city. Sandali, ma'am, ha? But they turned out to be very participatory. In other words, what I'm saying is, hindi po lahat ng lugar may access sa ating online media. And therefore, when we think about elections, and when we think of people, especially poor people who will cast their votes, and this is their moment, as I said, let's reach out to them. Whichever media or whichever medium can reach people. Kaya ang sentro ko po, people. At saka yung peace. No? Peace later, I'll come back to that. Ano ho ang goal? We will make this election a truly democratic exercise. Gawin natin na itong pagkakataon na ito, rare. In 6 years, pipili sila ng presidente, vice-presidente, senador. Bigyan natin sa mahihirap, sa walang access sa lahat ng bagong teknolohiya, yung maging mapanuri, mapag-isip, discursive, maging decision maker sila, no? At ibigay natin ang power sa voters. Will the power lie on the media itself? Yes, it's powerful. But let's be mindful of the voters, the people, as people. That's why when I said, ito po yun, ito ang ating concerns ngayon, let's be data-based. How many have access to internet? Ngayon po, kinakraft namin, how many LGUs have okay internet connection? How many, kasi nagpi-prepare po kami, my field is public administration. Next year, take effect na po ang Mandanas ruling. Mandanas ruling has been signed into a law, an executive order by the President. Starting 2022, ang resources po ng local government ay lalaki. From the sharing na 60-40 ng ating taxes, 40 pumupunta sa local government, magiging mas malaki po, 50-50 plus. Yung ibang taxes pupunta pa rin sa local. Pero ano ang kakayanan ng local? I mean, that's good for the local. Pero anong kakayanan nila para maipatupad yung kanilang expanded responsibilities? That's why we have to equip the local in terms of utilizing the resources that will go down to them. And I think this is a question of governance. Maraming gagawin, madadagdagan ang trabaho nila, madadagdagan din ang resources, pero may kakayanan ba? To begin with, information infrastructure is problematic, and I would like to thank Secretary Pernia for really pushing through the technology, the infrastructure development of the country. Ito po yung crucial. Kasi yung mga mahihirap, isolated sila sa mga urban areas, sa town, cities, because of that technology divide. There is a technology divide yet. Right? So, yung access sa kakayanan, sa pagpaplano, sa pagboto, affected po ito ng ating resources, including technology. And therefore, when technology is wanting, we should find a way to inform, to uplift, and to make the voters make their decision. So let me come to the other point. Meron akong assignment. I have to take up political parties. Meron pa bang slides ito? Or this is the last slides I have? Okay. Ang assigned po sa akin, political parties, ano? And you know, for the first time, in so many years that I have been examining democracy, looking at the lens of political parties in the Philippines, this year, this time, and for 2022 elections, I am almost at the verge of saying, political parties, what are you talking about? There's no such wicked thing. in the Philippine political system right now. You have seen how people shifted. They have been shifting even in past election. But for the 2022 election, it's unbelievable, incredible how on our face, political party, I'm sorry for the word, PPP, political party prostitution has been taking place. And there is no such thing anymore. And yet our analysts, our media continue to harp on analyzing political parties. Yun po yung wish natin. That's our wish. But then it's so frustrating. There is no such thing. The biggest political party, nag-split na po yan. At dumating sa point na yung major political party for the first time in the history of Philippine election and politics, walang front runner ang administration party. So what kind of political party are we talking about? Nag-shift na rin po from one party shifting to another party, and in less than 1 week, pledge allegiance to a new party. I'm speaking of the vice presidential candidate. What political party are we talking about? Hindi ho ba? Parties that change color because the party has been tagged as the evil one since day one in 2016, and therefore it has lost popularity, it has lost force. It cannot stand anymore on its own. It cannot stand on its color, and therefore it has to adopt another color. What political party are we talking about? Mahirap po yan. So sa akin, big question mark pag-usapan at this point ang political party. Ang ugat po nito is legislation. Kung i-uphold natin ang isang batas, but who would care for legislators melting themselves out by passing an intelligent, reasonable political party law? It's the same as shooting themselves in the foot. So for now, for 2022, I'd say, what political parties are you talking about? So far among the presidential, coalition po ngayon, pero ang coalition is also very fleeting, pabago-bago. Minsan nag-a-align, minsan nagsishrink, no? Minsan they don't mind what the labels are. All right? So sa akin, napadali yung aking assignment na i-analyze yung political party. I don't think we have a serious one. And this is a retrogression of our democracy as well. If you will measure democracy as partly one metric of democracy is a vibrant, strong, mature political parties. We don't have that for now. Umasa na lang po tayo in the coming years that it will be rebuilt, no? By great men and women. I hope there can be more thinking individuals who have the heart for building mature institution. Yung pong peace, part po niyan, strong institutions. Strong institution. Kasama po dyan sa usapin ng peace, ang bilang isang strong institution, ang political parties. Rules. Let's mention social media. Strong ba ang institution natin that anything, all information, misinformation, disinformation are flying on air everywhere, but our institution have difficulty arresting, correcting. Where does correction lie? Again, babalik po ako sa sinabi ni Dean Army, digital citizenship. Nasa kamay po ng citizens. Nasa kamay ng tao. Let's be responsible digital users. No? Yun lang ho siguro ngayon because our institutions, NTC, ang problema, no? Can we imagine everything possible, flying, scammers, everything? We have tied up with the Kennedy School of Government on responsible use of social media. And rather than become an emotional channel, a channel for emotional throwing of emotions, views, and answering back, no? Answering back. similarly emotionally charged. I think what we have been learning together with the Kennedy School of Government is when there is misinformation, the decent digital citizen, responsible digital citizen should correct the misinformation, and that's it. Should not win against or over the emotional party that sows misinformation and disinformation. The way to counter a misinformation is to correct it, to stay calm, to stay correct in our facts. Fact check pa rin ang favorite ko na magandang gawin. Fact check, no? I-correct, mabawasan, ma-reduce, hindi magdagdag ng apoy at hindi magdagdag ng confusion at the end of the day, confusion sa voters. Kaya po ang ibang voters natin nagsasabi na lang, basta ako, ito ang aking choice. Hilong-hilo po sila. They are so confused, they are so weary and tired, digital or non-digital. And that is why whatever works, digital or non-digital, for as long as we say we reach out to the voters, convince them. Yung iba po nako-convince, yung iba hindi. But I think for as long as we have a strong sense of citizenship, and it's in the academe and in among colleagues, no, people like us who really have yung kanina sabi ni VP Neni Pernia, tayo yung isang merong obligasyon na maglingkod sa bayan. We are here to serve and to continue serving and to exercise our citizenship. Whether it is digital citizenship or non-digital citizenship, we have it. And therefore, we continue to pursue this, no giving up. This is our country. There's no one else who will pursue and who will continue and persist to work around people, voters, empower them. And we do not have the liberty to get tired because our role is to continue to inform, to educate, to communicate. And I think I will end with that. Yun lang po, because I have said nothing about political parties, nothing good. I continue to flag and to raise, the symbol of people and peace in the promotion of informed and responsible election, free, fair, and just. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Ma'am Edna. Nabigla ako dun sa PPP. May bago na po palang meaning ang PPP. Akala ko public-private partnership. Oo, ano na pala, political party prostitution.
Oo.
Patay tayo dyan.
I-answer ako ng CMC at saka ng media.
So, ayan po, maraming salamat po. And now, I think, Ariel, we can start now with our roundtable discussion with our speakers. Si Ma'am Arminda, si Ron, and si Professor Edna.
Meron kang nakabinbin ng mga katanungan, Joyce, para sa kanila, right?
Oo, simulan po natin kay Ma'am Arminda. Ma'am, yung tanong ko po kanina, iba po ba paano po ba yung concept po ba ng digital citizenship? Matik po ba siya kung ikaw ay isang digital native? Or paano yung katulad ko na digital adapter? Si Ariel, baka mag-claim siya na digital native siya. So, ako na lang, I'll claim for myself, digital adapter. Inabutan ko ang fax. Iba po ba yun? Automatic po ba yung ganong konsepto?
Ano po, nag-a-apply po ito sa lahat. At hindi nga adapter ang ginagamit digital immigrant. No? Pero kasi nga
kailangan ng passport.
Oo, 'di ba? Pero nag-a-apply ito sa lahat, no? Mapa digital native ka, pero alam mo, iba rin talaga ang definition ng digital native at mapa digital immigrant ka. At least yung digital immigrant, medyo sakto 'yun Kasi sinasabi nga nila yun daw digital immigrant, those born before the year 1985. So kasi hindi pa ganun ka palasak. ang ating teknolohiya. Pero yun naman sa digital native, hindi rin lahat no. Kasi tayo tingin lang natin na porket pinanganak sila sa panahon na maraming teknolohiya ay agad-agad iniisip natin na magagaling sila sa digital technology. Hindi po, no? Dahil unang-una, di po ba tayo ay pinapanganak nang wala pa tayong kamuang-muang sa realidad. So through social construction of our reality, doon tayo nabubuo. Ang nangyayari lang, dahil bata pa sila, so bata pa, pinapahawak na ng mga gadget, ng mga magulang for so many reasons. Kadalasan nakita ko yan sa mga pamangkin ko na pinahawak na sila ng mga iPad, mga ganon. Kasi nabubuang yung ate kong alagaan siya, so parang babysitter yung iPad. So sa paglaro-laro niya, natututunan niya kung paano maneuver or mag-navigate doon. Pero hindi rin po naman lahat ng tinatawag nating digital native na pinanganak after 1985 ay magaling sa teknolohiya. Pero sinasabi na dahil bata pa na-expose sila, so nagkakaroon sila ng wisyo tungkol doon. No? Ngayon, kung yung digital citizenship, para po yan sa lahat, no? Maging matanda ka man o digital immigrant, maganda pakinggan, di ba? Digital immigrant kasi yung matanda ka. No? At youth or digital native na tinatawag, kailangan mo pa rin ma-develop yung sarili mo na maging digital citizen na responsable, alam yung buong environment ng digital, at dahil nga nagjo-join ka sa isang komunidad, no, tawag nga ay digital community, so nade-develop mo yung iyong citizenship sa pakikisalamuha sa mga kasama mo sa komunidad na yun. So walang pinapaboran yung digital citizenship. Pantay po talaga yun. Mapamatanda ka o mapabata.
So, klaro po yun, regardless of age, kailangan alam mo ang karapatan at responsibilidad mo bilang isang digital citizen.
Tama. At doon nga yung na-share ni Ma'am Edna, no? Totoo po yan yung na hindi talaga po ang laki po ng digital divide, no? Nakikita lang kasi natin yung pagka-digital among the middle class. Pero hindi po natin nakikita masyado, no? Yung wala talagang access ang marami nating kababayan. Kaya nga nakita natin yan sa pag-apply ng DepEd, di ba? Na magga-gadget kasi nga hindi tayo pwede lumabas ng bahay, no? Makikita mo doon, no, na 'di ba, nagka-problema dahil wala ngang Android phone man lang ang mga kababayan natin na marami, 'di ba? So kaya ngayon digital divide, no? Yan yung unang-unang elemento ng digital citizenship, yung digital access. At ito ay hindi lang ito sa kamay ng individual, kundi nasa kamay ito ng gobyerno. Kailangan palawigin niya yung access to digital technology, no, na hindi yung hati-hati. Although of course challenge po yan dahil we are an archipelagic country. So it's really a challenge to make digital technology ubiquitous, unlike landlocked countries, no? They are easy. So dapat ito yung pinag-iisipan ng ating DICT man lang, di ba? So yung
Joyce, I have a question for Dr. Edna.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon to you. I like your point about shifting the focus or veering away from candidate-centeredness to voter-centeredness. How do we put forth or push the agenda among candidates ngayon, this early, kahit wala pang campaign season, to put all these people, planet, kung binanggit mo kanina, peace, dun sa center of their platforms, di ba? Dapat kasi, ito yung magiging panawagan natin sa voters when really call out politicians or candidates, diba? At this point, na hindi pa klaro yung plataforma nila. Correct, Ma'am Edna?
Actually, Ariel, eto na nga halo-halong chop suey nga yung pinipresent ng maraming candidates natin. Pag tinanong sila, no? What is there for, what do you have to offer? Either, at ito po kaya hilong-hilo ang voters, parang pare-pareho lang naman yung sinasabi nila. Parang yung isa sinabi rin naman ng isang kandidato. So maybe it doesn't matter kung sino yung ilagay mo dyan, pero kung sino yung may pabor para sa akin as a voter, I mean, that's why the vote buying and the vote selling, lalo na may kandidato naman talagang higit na malaki ang resources kaysa sa ibang candidates, no? And that becomes even more parang parang naka-build dun sa ating system. Wala kasing pagkakaiba ang mga kandidato, it looks like, di ba? And that is because nauugat ito, Ariel, dun sa kawalan natin ng isang mature political party. Yung party kasi ang nagde-define ano ang agenda, ano ang ating ino-offer sa mamamayan, at come hell or high water, ito yung ating ino-offer, and people will have to make a choice. Sa atin po, kasi personality-centered nga yung ating election, hindi nag-a-align ng maayos ang political party. In fact, nababasag. So walang nag-o-offer ng isang agenda na solido. And that's very sad. That's why I said, nakakalungkot. 2022, ito yung talagang napaka-gloomy para sa akin ng political party issue, no? Magkakasama, biglang naghiwalay, and all of that. But I think yung question mo, which is what we in CIFAL Philippines wants to do, pwede bang ilagay ninyo sa agenda or meron ba kayo sa agenda hamunin yung candidates or yung natitira pang so-called party? Ang party natin, merong senatoriable siya sa party A, senatoriable din siya sa party B, di ba? Senatoriable din siya sa C. So, I mean, what does that say? Kahit saan ka, apula, aputi, pwede, ganon. But I am saying, yung siguro ilagay na hamon sa partido, sa political parties, do you stand for zero hunger, no poverty, gender equality? Ito po yun infrastructure development, hanap buhay. Ito po yung nasa core, no? So, I think we have to put the sustainable development goals. We want to challenge candidates, kahit po sa local level, pwede. Yung tatakbo bilang mayor, nasan ho ang iyong agenda, yung sa SDG? Ay ano ba yon? Precisely, no? Leader ka, ikaw ang pipirma sa United Nations, dapat alam mo yan, no? Na tayo ay nagko-commit sa UN na we strive to contribute to zero hunger, no poverty, gender equality, quality education. Ito po yun up to 17 Ps. Pagpapatatag ng institution. I think I have not heard any candidate na nagsabi, ito yung aming gustong makita. And I've been talking to different groups, private sector, business, media. Iisa ho yung panawagan, baka marinig tayo ng candidates, gagawin nila. Ang panawagan ng panahon after the pandemic, jobs, employment. Napaka-crucial, no? If a candidate in 2016 could make a big issue out of drugs from nowhere and has been picked up big for 6 years, bakit yung totoong issue ng tao hindi natin marinig sa mga kandidato? Pare-parehas lang. So I think we have to challenge them to a conversation, Ariel, make them on the spot. Put them, and I think media is quite powerful to do that, whether online or free media. Hamunin ang candidates to say, have you heard of sustainable development? Nasaan ang mahirap sa inyo? Nasaan ang kababaihan? Nasaan ang mga migrante? 'Di ba? Anong agenda? And then I can weigh. Merong iba, huling-huli mo agad walang agenda 'Di ba?
So, pero ma'am, yung iba po doon, meron sila pero very populist. Kung ano lang yung gustong marinig din ng tao,
yes.
yun din ang ino-offer nila.
Oo.
But it's not necessarily aligned with principles because hindi rin naman sila political parties talaga.
Pero remember, Joyce, ako nasa public ad ako. Every year tuwing may SONA, sinisingil natin doon ang leader.
Right.
We always say, what did you do during your first year? What did you do on the second year? Sinisingil ng bayan. And again, media is very, very important. Media will have to capture those and say, after year 1, yung administration na yan, ito yung ginawa. Balikan nga natin yung pangako niya noong 2022. Singilan ito. And media really stands at the center of all of this. So ako, I will drop anything to talk to CMC and to the media network kasi ito yung naaabot natin ang tao. At takot ang powers, takot ang authorities, ang politiko, takot sa media. Right? Powerful kasi ang media. It can break, unbreak, make or unmake, pero tayo yung amplifier That's why I would challenge media. Pupunta na ako hindi na sa candidates media yung i-capture natin ano ang pagkakaiba-iba ng mga kandidato. We will do that as a UP program on CIFAL. Hahamunin namin, nasan yung inyong commitment to the goals? Kasi ito yung kababayan natin, di ba? Joblessness, unemployment, etc. Women, migrants. Migrants ang source ng ating economic all along But hahamunin din natin yung kababayan natin. Hamunin natin yung ating voters, no? Gusto ba natin ito? And let's not make fun of the election in the sense na parang sabi nga natin may circus. Mukhang parang ganun na lang, no? Yung parang maraming palabas. But then nasan yung the bottom line? Because sa akin 2022 is a very, very, very crucial election.
Yeah. Coming from your comment on the media, ibabato ko lang ito kay Ron. Ito parang CSC na natin sa media, Ron, criticism na natin. Nabanggit ko kanina tungkol dun sa mga satirical pages. And maliban doon, ako bilang isang media practitioner, ako mismo ay may concern sa mga media outfits din na minimix ang editorial sa kanilang news in their presentation. Lalo na sa kanilang social media accounts, Facebook or Twitter. Of course, it generates engagement, it generates views, but it also blurs the line between opinion and news. And hirap na nga yung tao to differentiate what is correct, valid information from disinformation, malinformation, tapos sasahugan pa natin ng ganon. Anong tingin mo doon?
Bago kasi ang metric na sinusundan ngayon, especially ng legacy press na may social media presence. Kung dati is understanding of the issues that are being raised or reported on, ang metric na sinusunod, especially sa social media of those that are aligned with the traditional legacy press is engagement. That is why they're trying to confuse straight news with some comical, and they're trying to fuse some comical. I mean, we've seen that one. I can cite one of the leading newspapers now. I mean, the way they put their captions, it's just basically to titillate people, hindi ba? They use, for instance, a gay language or some information that actually...
Something catchy.
Catchy, just to be able to, kasi ang metric ay engagement, share, at saka likes or hits, hindi ba? Yun yung, kasi at the end of the day, they need to be able to present this to a potential advertiser that we're hitting so much. Hindi ba? So, minsan nakakalimutan na sandali lang may ibang role ang media, no? Sa citizenry or sa democracy, hindi ba? So, minsan yung may rebalancing, as they say, no, of interest, whether it is a business interest or the actual goal of the press. So, kaya minsan din matagal, no? Matagal paano ba, i-reject yung satirical post. It takes them a while because it actually adds up to the veneer of mystery or engagement, no? Kasi katulad ng maraming di ba, pinapalitan ng pangalan, and yet people pag naging negative lang, tsaka lang nila sasabihin sandali hindi amin.
Yeah.
Hindi ba? Kaya
pag funny na pro sa candidate nila, it's funny. Pero kapag andun against another candidate, it's fake news.
Correct. So, mga ganyan. And then they will issue a statement only after that one, hindi ba? So, merong ganong pagtingin, no, sa nangyayari ngayon. So, ang tanong ngayon is that, does it help voters or citizens in understanding the issue? It does not, because it just further convolutes their thinking. Sinasabi nga ni Professor Edna, no, na litong-lito na sila, bangengeng-bangenge ang voters. Tapos may ganito pang parang mga pakulo, hindi ba? So lalo silang so hindi nila maintindihan alin ang totoo, alin ang hindi, alin yung pakwela lang. So mas matindi ang when you're doing behavior change, no, campaigns, mas matindi yung napapatawa ka, na identify ka, so naniniwala ka doon. Ang tendency mo is actually to share without verifying kasi it gives you better attitude towards yourself. Kasi pag i-share ko ito, marami mag-engage din sa akin. So down the line, may ripple effect, kaya dapat may siguro to rebalance the rebalancing, no? I mean, just to be able to say, excuse me, sabi nga natin, media, traditional or social media, may responsibility. Huwag mo na yung traditional, yung social, pero yung legacy, I mean, may gatekeeper, di ba? At tapos, ang hindi ko rin maintindihan, magkaiba ang editorial team ng digital at legacy, di ba? Alam natin yun. Parang pag kinorek mo, sandali lang, hindi kami yun eh. So may ganong issue. No? So yun.
Joyce, question.
Yes, go ahead.
Any from the panelists can actually answer. Do we have a critical mass online or in social media? Kaya say, if we are to believe the call to harness potentials ng mga netizens, enough ba yun to turn things around? Sans the critical thinking, ibang storya yun, di ba? Ma'am Edna or Dean Army.
Pwedeng meron kaming napansin na we may not be able to dramatically turn things around instantly, di ba? But we have seen also how in a local area, for example, things change. May maliliit na ripples ng may ganon, no? Kasi and it's so wonderful to learn yung anong ginawa nila. The Palawan for example is amazing eh. Yung plebiscite, very quiet, very silent. No, parang one-sided lang ang maingay. Pero bakit yung outcome ng plebiscite, nagulat kami? Because people on the ground were really, magandang i-discover pa yon. Come to people, how they think, how they analyze. Tapos, nagulat kami, kaya palang manalo ng isang no dun sa plebiscite kahit na ang resources ay in favor of the other party, no? May mga may mga tales na kung saan what works in a particular area, marami kang makukuha doon, no? And we say, imagine the choice is something unbelievable. Hindi siya kasi nakikita large scale. No? And maybe I have been very critical and negative because summarily, I've been talking of large scale already. Pero pag tiningnan natin yung patches of good, nice practices, marami tayo nun.
Pero Joyce,
Pero,
how much of this had something to do with digital citizenship for that matter? Diba? Transform isang community. Are we agreed to say na dahil active sila or critical sila or gumagamit sila ng social media, woke sila, aware sila sa issues?
Ariel,
Not necessarily, Ariel.
Oo.
Yeah, go ahead din, Army.
Sige, din.
Hindi, ma'am. Not necessarily kasi, depends on their objectives in using social media. No? Like yung social media kasi the way it's being reported, it's really for entertainment.
Oo.
No?
Yeah.
Hindi siya ginagamit for yung information retrieval, kumbaga. No? Kaya nga, kahit fake news, kumbaga imbibe nila. So there has to be to me, I think, although of course this will take time, it's not only because it's the elections, but we have to integrate this to the basic education program. We only have MIL, but MIL is not enough because MIL talks more about the legacy media, but not really concentrating on the digitally based media. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Oo nga, ma'am. Ma'am, pero susugang ko lang po, Prof. Armin, yung sinabi ninyo, kapag po ba, in the context of the coming elections, ano po ba yung pinakamahalagang dapat tandaan ng isang digital citizen? Ano ang pinaka-responsibilidad natin ngayon?
Kasi nga, kailangan kasi aware tayo kung ano ba ang nagiging consequences ng irresponsible na paggamit, no? Let's face it, sige, paggamit ng internet or paggamit ng social media. Kasi mapa-kandidato, mapa-campaign manager o mapa-voter, no? Na pero hindi nga natin talaga masyado nalalaman kung ano talaga nasa pag-iisip ng voter. Para bang ang tingin ay conduit. Pero talaga naman doon sa mga nangangampanya, doon sa mga kandidato, conduit yan no? Hanggang doon lang. Pero para doon sa gumagamit ng social media, receiver, yung consumer ng social media, wala naman siyang way para to reciprocate kung ano yung na-receive niya Kasi kahit na alam natin na sa social media makaka-create ka ng sarili mong videos or whatever, hindi naman yun nakaka-reciprocate pabalik doon sa, let's say, yung kandidato. So, kasi talagang ang mahalaga ay yung iniingatan natin kung ano yung nadidiscern natin o iniingatan natin yung mga impormasyon na nakukuha natin doon. Na tama ba yung impormasyon, no? Kasi mas palasak kasi yung disinformation at misinformation. Pero alam mo kung bakit? Kaya yung palasak, alam mo wala na yung mga human troll Hindi na uso yan ngayon.
Yes.
Social bots na sila
Yeah.
Diba? Parang isang tao lang, ipoprogram lang niya yun, tapos agad-agad, diba?
Tapos makikita mo pare-parehas yung mga sagot nila.
Pare-pareho, no? Kaya nga wala na yung mga singular na human troll. Kaya nga kahit si Facebook, kahit na meron siyang tinatawag na cleaner, kasi alam mo naman ng Facebook, may cleaners yan Hindi na rin nila kaya Kasi nga,
sobrang dami.
Tapos itong mga troll bots or social bots ay, di ba nga, tulad ng nabalita tungkol sa mga online scam. Di ba? Nababato yan galing sa ibang bansa di ba? Like sinasabi na, ay nag-originate kasi sa India. Tapos noon, di na namin matrace kung paano yung nakakarating. Kaya iisa lang ang sagot ng mga telecom experts. Mahirap siyang matrace kung sino ang nang-scam sa'yo. Di ba? So, ganun din to. No, pag ginamit mo para sa eleksyon, itong teknolohiya na to. So, hindi ko nga malaman kung dapat ba talaga tayo ay mag-aral para lang maintindihan yung digital technology, di ba? Parang aralin mo paano ka magiging computer scientist. Kasi ibang klase kasi no? Pero yun na nga na kung alam mo ang iyong digital rights, no? At kung alam mo yung mga batas tungkol sa cyberspace, no, ng ating bansa. Although sabi nga nila mahina pa ang ating cyber laws, kailangan familiar tayo doon. So, paano magiging familiar? Yung mass media, kailangan i-harness natin, no, para doon. Kaya lang ito nga, Ma'am Edna, no, get ko naman talaga na kaya lang kasi, meron kasing capitalistic ideology ang ating mass media. So, talagang narinig ko to kay Alvin El Chico nung kasi parang iniimbitan nila si Dr. Clarita Carlos to ask questions sa candidates. Pero pagka sabihin nila na ang lalim naman ng question niyo, ma'am, wala ka bang question na malapit sa tiyan? So, 'di ba? Kasi kung malalim ang question, mawawalan ng gana yung viewer mo. Bababa rating mo. Lalo pa, kailangan nila i-maintain ang rating nila sa internet. Kasi hindi na pre-broadcast ang ABS So yung gano'n, no? So grabe ang kapit ng ideolohiya ng kapitalismo. Kailangan mag-rate yung programa mo. Kahit na free broadcast ka or through the internet ang iyong So sa ganung perspektibo, kailangan ma-re-educate ulit natin, kailangan mag-isip kami ulit ng ano ba ang pwedeng, kumbaga, refresher course para sa ating media producers. So yun po.
Ma'am Armin, baka I agree with you, talaga namang may kapitalista po ang media. Wag na natin i-sugarcoat yan. Dahil ang may-ari sa media ay businesses.
Oo.
Pero baka rin ang challenge talaga sa communication din.
Yes.
Baka dapat panahon na para ibahin din yung pag-communicate ng concerns para mas maintindihan siya ng tao. Mas, to use Alvin's term during the program, mas malapit sa bituka yung usapan.
Oo.
Tama.
Bahagi rin siya.
Ako, I will agree. We cannot, we should take it as a given. Merong capitalistic interest talaga sa media. Yeah. I don't intend to, hindi tayo idealistic to say, no, it should not. Pero, may balancing kung sa program, di ba? Paano ba binabalance yan? And I think it's, I think even media itself wants to have a balancing.
Of course.
Oo. So, kailangan yung ating, the medium itself, no? Pero may isa pa. If you look at BBC, if you look at CNN is in the US is quite, obvious na obvious kung. But ang maganda rin kasi na isa, yung how do you balance it, no? BBC, for example, in our case, and we have been arguing this, parang isang laging naming sinasama yan sa year-end report ng administration. If you look at the anong tawag dito, the mandate of PTV4. PTV4 is a government television. It is not a president's television network.
True.
Diba? And that is why we say, PTV4, bakit ganun yung handling? Kailangan parang it's only the president that is being served. And I'm referring to any president, parang kontrolado yan ng president. But it's not. It's People's Television
Television.
Network.
Yeah.
And
Public broadcasting.
yes, and it should have we pay for the salary, we pay for the operations. Yung content, kailangan medyo and I'm saying BBC, bakit BBC balansyado? Meron din namang yan, no? But may sense, may 'di ba? It's not biased na very clearly so.
Yeah. Joyce,
Opo.
kay Ron,
Kaya lang, ma'am,
sorry.
kaya lang ganito po yun, no? Yung BBC po kasi constitutionally formed yan tulad ng NHK.
Yes, ibang
So
model.
talagang meron siya, iba po model. Yung model po kasi nitong si PTV4 na hindi ko naman maintindihan. Para kasing siya yung yung TVRI ng Indonesia. So kung sino yung presidente, siya yung maraming say kung ano yung ipapalabas nun. And then also, parang tinatry din nila to run it like a commercial station, yung PTV4. Kasi nagkaroon na kami ng talks tungkol dyan eh. Tapos parang may gusto kasing project dati yung presidente ng UP. Tapos china-charge tayo ng malaki. Kaya tinigil na muna namin. Ayaw na namin i-pursue. So, pero po, kasi talaga pong iba yung model ng PTV4.
Oh, but nevertheless, it cannot be a president's television network.
Oh, ma'am, yun po sabi ng joke namin nga, yung PTV4, President's Television.
At
Kumari
saka
rin na
apat lang
People's
ang
Television.
nanonood. Kaya nga
Opo.
ng PTV4. So, when they invite me, I don't want apat lang manonood dyan eh.
Tama. Totoo po yun. Totoo po.
Pero ironically, may network siyang malapad. Di ba?
Meron.
Ay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Ron, ganito, binanggit mo kanina yung distrust and loss of confidence by the public sa media. Masakit, Joyce, no? For us na nasa media, di ba? For how long? Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa ba natin naibalik yung confidence ng public sa atin? Anong pwedeng gawin para maibalik yun? Kasi as we talk about digital citizenship, kasama doon sa usapin na yon ang pagbibigay ng tiwala. Hindi lang sa legacy media o platforms, di ba?
Unfortunately, survey after survey will show to you na waning yung trust, no? Especially as one of the institutions, no? Alongside the Roman Catholic Church. So, and only because there's a state-sponsored hate against the legacy press. It's a state-sponsored. Wala kang magagawa kasi
Let us
may
be clear,
medium siya.
state-sponsored,
Yeah. Totoo naman yun na kitang-kita mo naman, no? Hindi siya kasing garapalong kay Trump na sinasabing kayo ay fake news, pero kitang-kita mo naman kung paano balahurain ang legacy press. And since that person is a very popular executive, maraming naniniwala. I mean, this is the only president that has more than 70%, 60% approval rating even at the last year of his candidacy. So, and then, wala kasing self-validation. Alam mo yung mga tao, ang mga Pilipino, di ba sabi nila, mahiyain or something. Sa traditional press kasi, sa social media, mayroong sense of self-validation and recognition. Mas madali yun eh. Pag nag-share ka, at pag may nag-like, di ba, aminin natin, no? Kinabukasan o mamayang hapon, titingnan mo, ilang kayang nag-like sa akin? Di ba? And then they're able to test it na mas marami akong nalalike kung ito'y social media. Miski tingnan mo rin, pag nagla-like ka ng legitimate press, konti lang. Hindi ba? Kaya nga, at the end of the day, sinasabi ko, on top of media literacy and all public education, dapat really there should be reforms in the technology platform. Sobrang walang hiya ang Facebook, ang YouTube, ang TikTok. Saan ka nakakita na sa eleksyon, may isang kandidatong walang agenda, pero 57% ang kanyang popularity. Tapos pag ganito-ganito lang sa TikTok, hindi ba, anong klase yon? Hindi ba? It's really, the technology is dumbing the voters, no? Kasi
Pero Ron,
Yes.
susugan ko lang one candidate who has an actual platform tried to do TikTok and then received a lot of backlash naman.
I will explain that because I'm very familiar with that campaign, hindi ba? The problem with that particular candidate is walang concerted and strategic campaign communications planning. All of them are run by volunteers. So, walang mando sa taas. So they just said, sandali, baka gawin din natin yung ginagawa nilang TikTok. It
Yes.
backfired because
Yes.
it is not consistent with the brand. People are saying that person became inauthentic because it's not within her brand or image na magagaganon, hindi ba? That's why they're trying to reinvent that one. I've seen the internal analysis, a document from that particular team that says that backfired because of issue of branding. Because that person should not be doing that one. It is not consistent with the way that person is projecting that person. So medyo may ganun.
Yeah,
Hindi
yeah.
katulad nung isa, to begin with, wala naman kahit anong nangyayari. Wala siyang previous agenda na siya is serious or whatever. Pero kaya kahit anong gawin, di ba? Wala nga siya na sinasabi agenda na sinasabi Doc Edna na jobs and what, wala siyang
Wala.
ganun.
Yes.
Wala, di ba? Ang sinasabi lang niya, mamimigay siya ng
Pera.
ginto. Hindi ba? Eh, people
Dininay
tend to
na rin
believe
yata, wala daw yung Talyan.
Walang talyan.
So maraming,
Oo.
mas madaling paniwanaan yung ganun. That's why, hindi pwede na pag maganda yon doon ay pupunta ka. So ina-assess din yung brand mo or yung reputasyon mo. Kaya medyo inalis nila yung ganung branding. So unti-unti naman they're just introducing some music just to be able to lighten up the image kasi service after service are saying that particular talent is so serious, no? Very didactic and people are kind of like tired of those ganito. At saka hindi nila maintindihan yung messaging. Kasi nasa mensahe yun, hindi ba? Yung mensahe nakakakilig at nakakapagpakuha ng boto. Eh, yung mensaheng ito, mensaheng nangangaral. Eh, hindi swak yun sa isang kampanya, di ba? So yun. At saka sagitin ko lang yun sa may chat, no? Yung sinasabi nilang, I will use the online to be able to promote a candidate.
Tinatanong ni Francine yan. Yeah.
Yes, Francine. Unfortunately, since Facebook is a business entity, they will only expose your message within your chamber. That's why yung sinasabi mong echo chamber, yun lang yun. Unless you pay. Because Facebook wants you to pay X amount so that you'll be able to reach more people. Pero kung ikaw lang, it really will be exposed only to 10 to 15 people within your chamber. Sayang. That's why makikita mo rin ngayon at you can check the Facebook of candidates. Malaki yung budget nila, 3-4 million already just to be able to expose the message to other people. And it doesn't translate at all kaagad to votes. I'm sure si Professor Edna will say na pag hit or reach, it doesn't always translate to votes. So, hindi. Diba? Yeah.
Si Ma'am Nenny Pernia po, I think, has a question. Nakataas ko yung kamay yata kanina, ma'am.
Yeah,
Hi po.
hello. Sorry to butt in. Pero ang ano ko lang, kasi ang lutong-lutong ng diskusyon and ang dami kong sanang gustong suksukan ng mga punto, pero mga experts naman lahat nandito. Ang gusto ko lang gagawin ngayon is magbigay ng background tungkol dun sa PTV. Alam nyo, napakasaklap. Kasi pagkatapos ng EDSA, nung panahon ng 1986, nung ni-reform ang NMPC, National Media and Production Center, na yun talaga ang presidential, kumbaga the presidential television and radio, na talagang nakafocus on the coverage of the president. PIA, which was born out of a restructured, a re-ideologized Philippine Information Center, from which was born PTV4, na sayang. Yun eh. So kung papag-aralan kung ano yung mandato ng PIA, kung ano ang mandato ng PTV, nakahiwalay yun sa gobyerno. Nakatutok yun sa impormasyon na kailangan ng tao. Kaya yung P doon ay Pilipinas. Ang P doon ay tao. No? Yung Pilipino. Yung kailangan niya, no, na impormasyon. And siguro kung ganun talaga ang nangyari, naku, more than 4 people will be watching it. Talaga. So parang ang kailangan lang talagang pag-aralan is yung ano ang mandato, kasi maganda na eh. No? It's in many cases now we say you don't have to reinvent. You just do what you are supposed to do. And that's why we need good leadership to understand, number one, what information is all about, what kind of communication, what kind of good communication is important, no? So yun lang yung aking gustong kaya ako nagtaas ng kamay. Maraming salamat sa pagkinig sa akin.
Thank you po, ma'am. Kung may mga questions po from our audience, ito na po yung panahon na pwede kayong either taas ng kamay or mag-drop ng questions sa chat box. Ron, yes, you wanted to add to
Actually, kinabahan ng ABS-CBN and GMA7 on the first year of the administration. Especially, PTV was very, very popular on the first year.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was really making tutok to PTV4, especially when the president says something. And that in fact, that was the time they were trying to get Chari Villa to actually produce BBC type of information. So parang pwede at kaya. Yung sabi nga ni Neni, no? Kaya, ang kailangan ay maayos lang na program planning, content, at saka yung mix of programs that can be done, hindi ba? So, hindi ko alam, ginagamit din yata siya ng DepEd for their online courses. Pero, yun yung pwedeng mangyari. First 2 years, I was in the meeting with ABS-CBN and GMA7, they said we were so afraid because our hits are getting down because there's a lot of people really watching. In fact, they will ask request for videos from PTV4 just to be able to air in that site, and that's cross-promotion already. So, there was a time na talagang ang galing nung PTV. Tsaka yung kay programa ni Presidente.
And in fairness to PTV4, meron din namang ibang programs doon na talagang tutok din sa tao. But we don't discount the fact that karamihan din doon tutok sa presidente.
Correct.
Meron din naman kahit papaano. Kung may questions po from our audience, we will take them now. Otherwise, we will ask our speakers for their closing remarks siguro, Ariel, ano? Kung walang ibang tanong na.
Wala na tayong namomonitor, Joyce.
Oo, I think okay naman na.
Oo.
Siguro ang last lang sa akin sa parte ko, parang ngayon na time ng eleksyon, parang best bet na, parang malaki yung potential to be able to use social media, online platforms to actually make a difference
Yes.
Lalo pa at pandemic ngayon. Maraming bawal sa tradisyonal na paraan ng pangangampanya.
Yes.
Mawawala ang handshake, ang beso-beso. Dapat under COMELEC resolution, hindi ka... Pero on one hand, does it really become an equalizer? Or mas lalo ba siyang magdadagdag dun sa the great divide? Ako, I'm speaking as a news editor. Pag meron akong nakukuhang press releases ni Leody de Guzman, ay tuwang-tuwa ako. Kasi feeling ko karapat dapat siyang bigyan ng puwang ng espasyo sa dyaryo
Oo.
But it's not always like that. And iniisip ko paano kaya niya pwedeng magamit, 'di ba, yung online media para maisulong naman din yung plataforma niya. And not just him, but other candidates similarly situated na wala namang pantapat. Because I was surprised, Ron, when I saw the talaan ng mga nagbayad na ng ads.
Laki, di ba?
Ay, ang laki. At may isang tao doon na hindi ko inakalang ang laki na ng binayad niya.
Correct.
Kasi sabi nila volunteerism, pero pagtingin ko, ang laki ng pera.
Correct.
So may ganung concerns din, di ba? I just try to be fair about it. Hindi naman pwedeng kulto style tayo na lahat tama, lahat yes tayo dun sa kandidato dahil gusto natin. So, paano yun? And kung may potential, how do we maximize that potential? Siguro on that one, tapos we'll go to the closing remarks na. Anyone would like to take? Sorry. May gusto mo sumagot? Wala.
I cannot agree more. I mean, what you said exactly, no? It's not that I am going to vote for or I am pro Lodi de Guzman or for a particular candidate. Pero kasi kanina medyo babawi ako dun sa political parties. Pag tinignan mo benchmarking ito yung may ito yung mayroong signal ng party no? But how can a candidate or a party like that win when the chances are hindi naririnig, hindi masyadong, I mean, it's really, it's a campaigning is a really public thing. I mean, and that's where media matters most. So how can someone like that have a space, no? But I think basically on the point na social media, napaka-powerful niya. And that's why we're talking about it now, because we want not to be overpowered by the fancy of the technology against substance of politics. But neither can we say we should be politically correct by no, I think social media is a reality. It is here. It can be powerful, and it can even be more useful and more instrumental to let democracy play out. I mean, to be heard by on the part of people who are least heard. Pero yun nga, the big question mark, or siguro not to hype on those who can afford to pay more, because even if there's nada in terms of message, no? But I think the truth is, reality is, social media is such a power. And therefore, ako ibabalik ko ulit sa inyo yung burden na, how do we make such a meaningful mechanism really make a difference and contribute to democracy, no? Shaping. It's a work in progress. Sa akin yun ang aking final statement. It's a work in progress, and all of us will have to put our brains together here.
Thank you,
sa akin,
Ma'am
Joyce,
Edna. Yes, Ron.
Sa akin, Joyce, the example of Leody, mahirap hindi equalizer ang social media kasi kailangan mo ng maraming pera. Or else, it will just be in the echo chamber. Kung sino lang yung sa tingin niya na laging, I mean, Facebook will only expose the message to people who who are actually supporter of that particular person. So, konti, no? Ang equalizer actually is equal free space in media coverage. Kasi natutuwa ako na may mga reporters na naka-assign already. Nakikita mo naman sa television, naka-assign sila. Never mo nakita yan in before na isang Leody de Guzman ay may reporter na naka-assign, di ba? Ngayon, tuntua kami dahil sa bawat kandidato ay meron at hindi ito maramihan ng coverage, no? Pantay-pantay. I mean, that can help because kung advertising, talo rin. Kasi may isang network, I will tell you, it's already 1.9. I've seen already the rate card, it's 1.9 million per 30 seconds. Correct? So, mahirap yun kung labanan.
Taas niyan, Ron.
Sobrang taas. Sobrang taas. As opposed to the other TV na 156,000.
Hindi kasi member ng KBP kaya hindi ma-regulate.
Correct. So, kung advertising, talo. Pero kung ito ay free coverage, not equal, I mean, even, I was telling nga, dapat siguro the UPMG or PPI,
United Print Media Group.
Yes, and then PPI and everybody else should kind of like say, sige, we have X number of candidates. Let's give them kind of like an equal free coverage. Diba? Maganda yun kasi it kind of like exposes also other people, di ba? And also, if they can be done as well online, kasi yun yung pwede mong i-share. Ang Facebook kasi free, di ba? I mean, you don't need kind of like a data on that one. So free internet, you can share. Kaya sinasabi din namin sa mga campaign managers, don't rely heavy on images because images cannot be shared by people because they cannot see it. A lot of the people, they may not have internet, but they have free Facebook, and those are, text, di ba? So text heavy, mas maganda yon. So yun, pwede mo siyang equalizer. Pero other than that, talagang the election is always a money-making machine, especially dito sa atin sa Philippines. Unfortunately, it favors those who can afford.
That's the sad
I've heard a
reality.
candidate that meron siyang 100 billion kitty.
Wow.
Where do you get that? Where are you, diba?
And how
So,
do you get that back? That's
yes.
the most important
Yep.
thing. Because pag nanalo, babawiin.
Babawiin.
Yep. That's it. Those are the
Yeah.
things that I want to say lang. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Si Ma'am Arminda, baka meron pong pahabol?
Yes, alam nyo, maganda nga na bibigyan ng puwang yung mga kandidato na talagang alam natin, no, at hindi naman nila yun gawa-gawa lamang na yung access nila, no. Kaya like yung kay si Calyodi, nakakatuwa talaga na nakikita regular, no, sa TV news. At maganda rin tong ginagawa rin ng ating mga TV stations, no, na pero kasi ngayon alam mo napakalakas ng tinatawag na visual aspect of the campaign, no, kaya sila nasa TV. Bihira ako makarinig kasi sa radyo, no. Di ba radyo nga mas mura yun di ba? Then yung sa online, like pag tinitingnan ko yung mga kampanya ni Calyodi for instance, alam kasi niya na yung kanyang audience hindi masyadong may access sa digital media. Kaya siya ay nandun sa limited na controlled na in-person campaigning, no? Na sana nga matulungan siya na kahit na makapasok din siya sa internet at sa social media. Pero siguro nga, siguro naman meron, hindi ko lang kasi nasa survey talaga ng gusto. No? Pero yung mga kandidato ngayon, lalo na sa pagka-presidente, ang tingin ko lang, no, nakikita ko na parang gusto nila na merong kontrobersyal na nangyayari tungkol sa kanila kasi yun ang sigurado mare-report. Kaya yun ang nakikita natin. Tapos alam niyo yung social media, oo, no, kasi yung power ng social media is, for me, it's double-sided. Powerful kasi siguro maraming ang gumagamit, maraming tumatangkilik. Pero sa akin kasi, yung power, nagre-reside din doon sa talaga bang na ipapahatid through social media yung mga dapat na malaman natin. Dahil nga, like sa Facebook, hindi ko naman nakikita yung be a responsible voter, etc., etc., etc. Ngayon, yun namang iba, ginagamit na yung TikTok, dinadaan sa kanta, pero yung kanta, minsan parang kalokohan no? Pero yung, sa akin siguro kasi napaka-idealistic ko rin na dapat din na yung social media ay ma-harness, no, into something na, for want of a better word, no, good. Kasi alam ko yung good, judgmental din yan. No, na para ma-maximize, no, kung ano tong medium na to, no, na ito ba ay mediation tool na pwedeng magamit kasi ang masaklap kung mediatization tool siya ginagamit kasi yung mediatization may kaakibat yun na na komersyalismo, kapitalismo, no, na sa lahat ng form gusto nila makita sila, no. So kung mediation siya at imimediate mo o ipaparating mo, no, yung dapat na mensahe, maganda talaga ang social media. At yun nga na kasi wala pa akong nakikita or kasi kulang ako ng paghahanap na yung may katulad ba ng ng mga TV stations natin, no, na nagbibigay ng karampatang espasyo sa bawat boses ng mga kandidato. Kaya lang, like minsan, posible nga magkaroon ng space din sa internet si Lodi kasi may online newspapers naman, di ba? So, kaya lang, hindi ko naman napag-aralan o hindi naman ako nag-research na yung yung may patience ba na magbasa ng dyaryo na online yung internet user natin.
Yeah.
Ngayon, para sa parting words, syempre parang newfangled word kasi yung digital citizenship, no? Pero masasabi ko lang na dapat discerning tayo, dapat hindi tayo alam mo yon yung hindi tayo palasak, no? Hindi tayo yung
Dalos-dalos.
padalos-dalos, 'di ba, sa paggamit nitong mga madaming mga pamamaraan na binibigay sa atin ng teknolohiya, no, na kumbaga hindi ka impulsive, no, na tinatawag. Kaya nga maraming 'di ba, marami kasi nangyayari na on impulse, ay napadala ko kay ganito. O tapos napadala mo na 'di ba? So at least sa Messenger kasi pwede ka mag-unsend, 'di ba? Pero hindi ko alam sa ibang sa ibang plataforma. So lang parang dapat kahit papaano dapat para sa akin siguro nga siguro puro dapat pero yung para tama like kung kolehiyo namin siguro kailangan kami magpursige na gumawa ng like kung hindi webinar, a limited in person na pakikipag-usap sa siguro kailangan isulat namin yung proposal.
Yes.
'Di ba? Para nga na maiparating na may mga batas sa cyberspace, meron kang karapatan, 'di ba? Meron kang ganito, etc. So siguro sa ganoong paraan. Salamat.
Ayan, thank you po ma'am. Ako napakainit po ng diskusyon natin tapos ang dami po niyang nasaklawan at yung mga insights po na na-generate during our discussion are really worth looking into and sana nga kung may mga taga-gobyerno na nakikinig sa atin para masama nila sa agenda rin po nila. Pero yun, balik ko na sa iyo Ariel after our speakers have said their pieces already for our closing na Ariel.
Maraming salamat, Joyce, our moderator. Thank you very much to our panelists. Maraming salamat po for an insightful conversation. Ituloy po natin insightful conversations natin offline and online. Importante offline din, binanggit din Army kanina. Masalimuot po ang ginagalawan nating mundo, whether virtual or physical. Huwag na nating komplikahin pa ang buhay natin. Let's all be responsible digital citizens or citizens. Importante, responsable tayong citizens. We have a role to play in the democratizing access to information, democratizing access to spaces for safe environment to be able to express ourselves not only online but offline. Importante po yun na ma-merge natin, Joyce, di ba? As we speak about media's role in the society and the role of each and everyone in this country as citizens of this country for us to call for a good governance come May 9, 2022 elections. With that, I'd like to call the Executive Director of the Philippine Social Science Council to give us the synthesis, and after which we're going to give a token or tokens of appreciation to our panelists. Dr. Portus, Dr. Lourdes Portus. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. The afternoon is so hot.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, good afternoon, everybody. How can you reduce a rich, comprehensive, hot, and enlightening 3-hour discussion in 10 minutes? Well, I will dispense off with the preliminaries and the banter and proceed to the core of this webinar, the talks. And I better quickly start now. So this webinar, the last of a series of webinars on literacy, digital citizenship in the election season has never been more appropriate than this time when the Filipinos go to the polls in May 2022. Parang cliche, ano? But the election is rare or unique because it will be done amid COVID-19 and due to restrictions, as repeatedly said, cyberspace becomes the amphitheater for campaigning and winning votes. As the concept note for this webinar says, and I quote, the arena of campaigns is no longer in the streets or on constructed stages and platforms. No handshakes. Cyberspace is the new battleground, especially social media, as well as other internet-based media, or collectively called digital technologies, unquote. And what better way to start the ball rolling, so to speak, than provide a framework for digital citizenship? The first speaker, Dr. Arminda V. Santiago, set the tone and provided the anchor, context, or structure as she defined digital citizen clearly. Someone who has knowledge and skills and uses information technology to communicate with others, participate in society, and create and consume digital contents related to culture and arts, business, and economic activities. To have digital citizenship means citizens taking spaces for social good, understanding legal aspects, recalibrating your work as academics, media practitioners, and content providers to face head on the challenges and problems of social media and counter technologies being usurped and weaponized for political gains, propaganda, and corporate interests such as cybercrimes, online scams, bullying, trolling, etc. She said digital citizenship is about confidence and positive engagement with digital technologies. She cited many ways to become digital citizens by, for instance, being conscious and cautious of your digital footprints, and she provided examples which most of us can relate to. Dr. Santiago emphasized the value of digital citizenship as being able to participate in society online, having etiquette, and promoting social inclusion in a digital setting. It is important, she said, that it promotes civic engagement and voting. It encourages democratic participation, the internet being a democratizing platform. So Dr. Santiago presented a framework with 9 elements: access, commerce, communication, literacy, etiquette, law, rights and responsibilities, digital health and wellness, and security. And she explained all of this very well. She averred that the online environment should be a safe and secure space in which everyone feels protected. Students should be taught to use technology in a responsible manner because technologies influence how people interact. Ensuring the safety of the environment, of the online environment for generations to come is exactly what digital citizenship means. Finally, Dean Army claims digital literate citizens recognize internet safety, respect privacy and security, observe etiquette in using internet platforms, and prevent or deal with cyberbullying. Moreover, she unequivocally dismiss and reject disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation, which is one of the issues discussed by the next speaker, Mr. Ron Habal. Segue na ako sa kanya. So, having a framework as an anchor and to breathe more life to digital citizenship constructs, Mr. Habal's online disinformation in the 2022 election campaign proved a case in point. He started with political communication and stressed that news is no longer perceived to be true all the time. There is a downward thrust in legacy media since information consumers instead prefer fast information and quick news delivery in favor of truth, facts, and substantiated information. At worst, Mr. Habal intimated that politicians and political communication have gone down so low, down the drain, ika nga, such that instead of giving information just to win, politicians create noise, alter facts, and replace realities with their own agenda through an army of trolls. They discard the voter's role in framing issues, policies, programs, and the like. Ron demonstrated to us how misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation have seeped into the political system that is so systematic, aided by a well-planned machinery and heavy funding. He cited those with various media accounts, that website sells reactions, and there are other covert operations. He contended that there is an ecosystem of misinformation, truncated statistics, proxy wars, TikTok as venue for misinformation, and YouTube that is politicized. Therefore, as political toolkits, digital platforms consciously or unconsciously become instruments to create what he calls basta voters, ergo, illiterate digital citizens. I love his final statement. Ano na yun? Information is only reliable as the person using or seeing it. Meanwhile, Dr. Edna Cost's take on election and political parties in the digital normal anchored on pertinent election facts. FYI lang on how many million registered voters there are, how many elective seats, etc., etc. The important thing is these are all very significant critical data, not only for political parties with question mark in political parties, but electorates as well in mounting campaigns or participating in political discourse and making informed decisions respectively. Being a governance expert, scholar, political observer, and a keen spectator of society, Dr. Kohn noted that social media have focused their attention on the candidates instead of the voters. The vulnerable groups are missing, she said. They do not have access to internet, yet election is about them. It is about people. This is one of the P's that Dr. Ko put central in this election, the others being peace, prosperity, partnership, and planet. People, it is their moment. They should be rich. They are the focus of this election. Dr. Ko believes that social media and communication or communications should reach out to people and convince people to be discursive, critical, and deliberative. She puts forward some important suggestions such as social media and communication, demassifying, disaggregating, or categorizing target voters. You should find out who has connectivity that could be reached through digital technology, who are not wired and therefore need information using conventional forms such as comics, local language, etc. They should be given access. Also, she said social media should be inclusive and take into account what communication medium should reach the target voters groups, particularly women, youth, the poor, the vulnerable groups. Now, regarding political parties, he asked, what political party are you talking about? It does not exist. What exists is a political party prostitution. So meron siyang 5-piece at saka 3-piece. And she stressed that there's no major political party. There's no front runner. Imagine the administration becoming a political party. So Dr. Cole laments that there is much political switching, adoption of many political colors, and problems with legislators. She contended that political parties are not serious, and this reflects the retrogression of democracy. She concludes that social media should not be abused by sending emotional messages or counterattacking another party. Stay calm, she said. Instead, social media should fact check and pose questions to the voters to enable them to deliberate critically, evaluate, and make decisions. In conclusion, maganda rin yung open forum, kaya lang wala na tayong time. So I will conclude now. Looking at the objectives of this webinar, our speakers have successfully, in no uncertain terms, provided us an understanding of the concept of digital citizenship and its role in an election season. Like a single thread woven or knitted into a cloth, their talks were in harmony as they have discussed the ways in which digital technology actively engage and influence its audience or consumers. They have shown to us the characteristics of a digital literate person especially during the election time, and a digital citizen who is able to read, analyze, evaluate, and produce communications in a variety of digital platforms. Indeed, this webinar should develop in all of us a literate digital citizenship. Thank you very much.
Dr. Portus, maraming salamat po sa inyong comprehensive synthesis. Wala na kaming masabi talaga. But really thank you, and we hope to get you next time, di ba, Joyce, sa ating mga other webinars for some synthesis that at this point we now give the certificates of appreciation to our speakers. Joyce, kay Ron, kay Dr. Edna Ko, and Dr. Arminda Santiago, and the tech team will now flash on screen the certificate of appreciation to our speakers. Ayan na po. Ayan, signed by Dean of the College of Mass Communication.
Binigyan niya certificate sarili niya.
Yeah. This certificate is given
Binigyan ko ng diploma yung sarili ko.
Dr. Arminda V. Santiago. Of course, palakpakan naman po tayo kay Dr. Arminda. Ngayon, naintindihan natin kung ano na yung digital citizenship. Dati naririnig, ano ba yung digital citizenship na yan? Maraming salamat,
Very
Dean
clear.
Santiago. Very clear.
Thanks.
Next, our appreciation to, please, next slide, please. Ron Habal, of course, Ron. How can you go wrong with Ron?
Thank
Di
you.
ba, Ron? Maraming salamat. Merry Christmas, Ron.
Thank you.
And then
may hugot yun. May hugot.
Pareho kasi tayo ng background, di ba, Christmas
Correct.
Eve, di ba? And finally, maraming salamat, Dr. Edna Ko, for your insightful contribution to this webinar. Maraming salamat po talaga.
Thank you. Thank you to
Thank
the
you.
organizers.
Thank you. Next time, at this point, as we close the program, I'd like to give you the video message of no less than Professor Emeritus, also the Executive Director, TVUP, Dr. Grace Javier Alfonso. Minsan nami-mix up ko kasi yun. Ayan. Ayan.
Dean Arminda Santiago, UP Vice President Elena Pernia, Dr. Odette Portus, and the other officials and members of UP College of Mass Communication Foundation, Incorporated, thank you very much for the privilege of closing this very timely webinar on digital citizenship in the election season. We are very pleased to have with us Mr. Ron Habal, Chief Executive of Page One Group, and Professor Edna Ko, a political analyst, and to all our participants. Magandang araw at maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat for joining this webinar. I must say, many lessons learned. Our speakers have been very honest in discussing the political climate in our country. I agree with Ron that misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation are systematic. They are planned, deliberate, and funded. Therefore, we should be vigilant because we might be killed, as Mr. Habal pointed out. But, you know, it's like a virus worse than COVID-19, as this disease attacks truth and erodes democracy. Dr. Edna Ko, thank you for laying down the facts on this coming elections. This helps us to look at our challenges and address them appropriately. It is indeed vital to refocus our attention on voters. It is also important that we intersect our campaigns on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, as it has been discussed, of course, by Dr. Ko. What is also important is that our people realize the importance of being a digital citizen. We have to thank the Army Santiago for comprehensively discussing this timely and ever important concept. It is our obligation to actively participate and engage our people during this crucial time. The flow of information is surging and has been rescaping the foundations of our democratic functions. But there have been attempts to revise our history and misinform our people even before the advent of digital platforms. Now that social media has been transitioning as the primary channel of information, it has become easier for those with ill intent to redirect our attention to battling misinformation and misleading information. It is exhausting and draining, but it is high time for us to swim in these troubled seas. This is now the challenge. We should be more motivated and driven if they can weaponize the digital platforms and drown us with disinformation. We can go against this tide and provide them with waves after waves of factual information and science-based research. It is also easier for us to discuss and create conversations with our people. We must innovate and maximize this platform and provide our citizens the lenses that will enable them to be critical and help them delineate the sources they can trust. We must strengthen our institutions and unify to defend the truth. We may have started on different streams and rivers, but we all know that we share one ultimate goal: a clean, honest, and dignified elections for the betterment of our Filipino people. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Alfonso, for the wonderful closing. Shout out to our participants from Bukidnon, Marinduque, Davao. Salamat po sa inyong pagtangkilik ng programa ng Foundation. At please stand by for more announcements on further activities ng not only ng PPI, not only ng Foundation, but sa lahat po ng mga media organizations and ng media organizations na nagkakandak ng voter education programs as we look forward to next year's elections. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Stay safe and God bless us.
Ariel, mag-photo op tayo.
Yes, photo op please, Care.
Everyone, please turn on your cameras. Sayang ang makeup.
Makeup.
Yan, in 3, 2, 1.
Neni, where's your video?
Open po tayo. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Alright.
Maraming salamat sa ating production
thank
team,
you.
sa PPI. Sa
Thank you very much.
Foundation.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, PPI. Thank you, Nak.
Thank you, Nak, of
Edna.
course.
Thank
Nicole
you,
Asia,
Ron.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am O.
At,
Miss you, Miss O. Oh my
Oo
God.
nga.
Thank you to Sir Ron, Ma'am Edna. Salamat po.
Edna,
Din Army.